Ladies and gentlemen, girls and boys, let's have a look-see here. Today's date is the 24th of November, 2025 at 6:45 p.m. I'm a little early, but we'll have a little bit of banter, and I will put a timestamp below for where the broadcast truly begins. So if you've just arrived, so you can get past the mindless banter, catch up with people. Do the Jesuits run the world? Well, I had some very interesting interactions with a big bunch of very high-level Jesuits, and I'm going to tell you all about it. It's all here in my UN document, which you will remember, and we'll go in there and have a good read. And it's very confusing sometimes. I think things might be a little complicated. What do you think? Okie dokie. Let's say hello to a few people. G'day, M-boys. Gee, hope you well. Yeah, actually, I'm feeling pretty good. I've been healing the gut with some zinc, carnitine, and colostrum, and it's really worked well. Man, your gut, I was told, Brendon, heal your gut first. Heal your gut. I was told 5 years ago. I went on a very long circuitous route and I'm just starting to get better. But a lot of Pluto action, a lot of Scorpio action in the heavens, and it's affecting my Scorpio-Pluto self. Alrighty. We'll wait for 15 minutes, just have a bit of Midas banter. No one expects the Spanish Inquisition, no, but, you know, that's not going to get everyone to Israel, and that's not going to sell coffee mugs and T-shirts. It's the same hat, pretty much, yeah, kind of, but that's what we're going to discuss, just because, you know, Justice Mazza, well, I'll tell you what he said, Jesuit, a very good Supreme Court judge, and he got an article in the newspaper just before I got out of jail. Jesuits no longer dance to tune of former masters. That's a quote. That is a quote. So if Jesuits rule the world and they run Israel, and, you know, we'll talk about it in a minute anyway. So again, if you've just arrived, I will put a timestamp below to where we actually begin the broadcast properly. Till then, I'm just mucking around. I'm actually early. Can you believe it? Can you believe it? Do. You know what? I might just start. What the hell? Then people will complain, you started early. I know, very bad. What can we do? Let's wait till 7. Probably only about 20 or 30 people. That's all right. I kind of enjoyed live streams, but I just prefer Substack live streams. I prefer Patreon live streams, but they took them away. They took them away. What else we got here? Yeah. I think I'm just going to get going because I've got to finish a video. I've got a bit of work to do. I've got a bit of traveling to do soon. I have to set up some visas and other things and get ready for the big move. G'day, Katie Cat. God, I can't see. My eyes are so blurry. I should get my glasses. Yeah, I need distance glasses. I'm fine when I'm up close, but no good at a distance. But we can keep hanging around. Yeah, a lot of action again. If you're just waiting, I will put a timestamp below for when it officially starts. Crazy old time. I haven't kept up with a lot of stuff. I'm just finishing a video now. And then I've got to do a voiceover and hopefully finish it within the next 2 weeks. A pretty good video explaining a lot of things. Ba, 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 ba. 33 concurrent viewers. Oh my God, 33. 33 concurrent viewers. Let's go to screen and camera. Oh, how I love this document. The document is below. It's 100 megabytes. It's fully indexed. It is my UN Refugee. I'm so proud of it. I really enjoyed making this document. So you can click on all this. It's literally my Last Will and Testament. Last Will and Testament. And there's the High Court synopsis written in 2012. And just read that index. How far ahead of the curve. Dearie me. If only I could get an interview with someone who was normal. So it's fully indexed and you can really flick your way around it really well. And post-prison charges, High Court synopsis, blah, 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 blah. I mean, signed statement from Tony Semi. That's Tufik Ali Sorora. That was Muhammad Atta's mate. He used to hang out with the blind sheikh. I kid you not. I kid you not. Think about it. I met him in jail in Acacia Prison. Bullshit artist, but he was real. He was who he said he was. Good old, may he rest in peace, Daniel Hopsicker reviewed his address history. This is an amazing document, but everyone says they read it, but none of them can tell me what it's about. Tom Percy, QC, oh, blasts from the past. Blasts from the past, but you can see how quickly you can flick around the document. So, diary of last 3 years, we may as well make a start. 39 concurrent viewers. Pirates rule the world, that is true. Well, imagine when Queen Isabella booted all the Talmudic Orthodox Jews out of Spain and Portugal. They all ended up in the Caribbean. They brag about being pirates of the Caribbean. I could get that up. I got that out of a very interesting article out of the Jewish Maccabean paper in the West Australian publication, which I might add is made and distributed by Laser Mail. Laser Mail is run by a bunch of Masons. I know that because I was right there. They actually distribute the Masonic magazine in Perth, Western Australia as well. Laser Mail. It's all here in this document. It's all here in this document. Yes, I agree, Ashley Katz, but I just don't have the energy. I'm waiting for Roger Reeves to get his script written by a certain Hollywood star. Then maybe, might have to wait a few decades before it's ready. I mean, look, Joseph Davies. Oh my God, nephew of Fred Smith. These are private photos of Fred Smith. Can't believe I blacked out his face. I shouldn't have done that. Should have left it right in there. Okie doke, let's get moving. Let's get moving. There we are. All right, ladies and gents, you should have downloaded this by now. If you haven't, you've been very bad. Let's go to, I'm looking for, I should have had this ready. What a silly man I am. Dan. I'm going to have to find it. I'm a bit lost. Let's go straight back up here to the main index. Hope you're reading along. I'm good, Jason. How are you? Appendix 9, my precise attitude to Jewish issues, my friendship with Roger Reeves. Good old Roger. Oh dear. Statement of academic transcripts. Okay. Fears for safety, return to home country. My God, this is, you want to know about West Australian corruption? You got to read Appendix 6, fears for safety, return to home country. We're going to go here to leaving jail harassment. And we're going to go right through here. There's my hunger strike. There's Frederick Tobin who turned up there. And my phone call with Minister Joe Francis, all Jesuits. Are you ready? So this is starting at approximately, what number are we officially starting at? It's a bit early, but I'm a bad man. All right, we're going to start at 9 minutes. 9 minutes, that will be the start. 9 mins in. Okie dokie. Jesuits. Well, let's quickly talk about Jesuits. If Jesuits run the world, why is the Vatican out of money, asset rich and cash poor? Why can't the Vatican keep I ask simple questions. Why can't the Vatican keep their scandals out of the Jewish controlled press? Is there any particular reason if the House of Windsor runs the world, is there any reason why, and the royal families and so on, is there any reason why they can't keep their scandals out of the Jewish controlled press? There's my first question. Also, if the Vatican and Windsor, why isn't all that Israeli high-tech in London, or why isn't it in Italy somewhere? You see what I'm trying to say? Have you really thought this one through? Don't quote me 500-year-old books. They've infiltrated everywhere, Jewish power. But I will tell you about all the Jesuits that came and visited me, giving me encouragement. Didn't say, hey man, you're exposing our giant high technology, taking over the world program. So, phone call with Minister Joe Francis. So, this is Minister Joe Francis, Royal Australian Navy, a man who they all admitted straight up they were Jesuits, straight up. There was Justice Mazza, who wrote a full-page article. We'll talk about it in a minute. By October of 2014, I was still in a homeless shelter and Perth Legal Aid had refused funding to the High Court of Australia, where I was assured a quashing of conviction and a presumed rebuking of the West Australian legal establishment for the debacle they had created. I expected a rebuking of the Israeli state via the office of the then Foreign Minister Julie Bishop as well. It never came. I had made all efforts to see prison staff brought to account. I made a blog posting directed to then Minister for Prisons Joe Francis. I promised to kill Officer Liam Samuel Cashman if his investigatory staff continued to lead me in circles. Minister Francis first emailed me, then rang me on the evening of October 10, 2014 at approximately 10 p.m. We spoke for 30 minutes. Minister Francis is an ex-Royal Australian Navy submariner, which is synchronistic, as this is the issue that brought me to the attention of the state's counter-terrorism unit when I exposed that Israeli-modified weapons and sensor systems were used in the submarine, which had never been officially noted. His Commissioner of Corrected Services is James McMahon, pictured above. Mr. McMahon is an ex-Special Forces Commander, Colonel, SAS retired. Mr. McMahon has deep roots into the Australian intelligence and armed forces community in his various roles in physical and cyber security. When Minister Francis called me, he stated these 6 main points. Now, please listen, this is quite incredible. Won't mean a lot to people, but he was very friendly. He kept telling him to call him Joe. I kept calling him Minister. I was trying to be official. I had my video camera there. I could have pressed the record button, but I didn't. I thought he's being very open and honest. He stated seriously, and this is a quote, "I'm more scared of my own prison officers than I am of the bikies after I stopped their drugs getting into jail." He asked me to calm down and I had nothing to fear as Commissioner James McMahon, quote, had his back. He required an ex-Special Forces commander to protect him from his own staff. He believed prison officers had organised the break-in of his home by a well-known prisoner, which is true, we all knew that. He noted the high number of Freemasons in his prison officer staff as they would wear their Masonic lapels at their 20-year service awards. He stated I would be having a beer with himself and James McMahon. His staff were so incompetent they did not know the difference between $1 million and $100 million in the GPS sex offender tracking budget. He had to fight tooth and nail to get cameras that record into the maximum security punishment cells to discourage prison staff from beating up prisoners. So they're doing a very good job of trying to stamp out all the corruption in the prison system. So they're Jesuits, right? So naturally I thought they ruled the world. There should be no problem, but they were in fear for their safety. It must be noted that the State Department of Public Prosecution Senior Prosecutor David Tearing admits a call took place and is not in dispute. Screenshot of email from my defence lawyer Simon Freitag. And he says, I have now had a reply from Mr. Tearing, which includes the following, where I kept saying, I want an admission that the minister called me on this date, or I'm going to call him to the stand. I accept the offender received such a call, and it is noted contemporaneously on his site and referred to in his emails. So he's saying, yes, you did receive a call from Minister Joe Francis. Thank you. That's Simon Freitag, barrister. That's a very well-known barrister, 2IC to Tom Percy, QC, Queen's Counsel. If you're in Western Australia, you get Tom Percy. I had him. I didn't know who he was. And then people outside of the jail basically messed me around and bought Sir John Walsh or Bernard instead, who was a complete fucking lunatic. But anyway, what's new? I was worried about the minister's candour. I kept calling him minister. He kept insisting I call him Joe. I knew the WA police would be monitoring the call. Within 13 days, masonry of Perth struck. Minister Francis was confronted by a GPS tracked sex offender in front of Parliament House. That was declared a, quote, security scare by the West Australian newspaper. They titled the large article describing the incident, Minister Naive about security. I mean, this is a scandal. You'd think the reporter, the journalist, would be lining up to interview me, wouldn't you? They titled the large article describing the incident, Minister Naive about security. That was a threat directed at the minister by the powerful Masonic network within Western Australia. I'd remind you he had made a specific statement about GPS tracked sex offenders in his phone call to me 13 days before. Let's see if that article's still up, shall we? Oh, it looks like it is. 'Tis a miracle. Let's get my script blocker working. Waiting. 1, 2, 3. We're going to get it. Okay. There it is, still there. From 24th of October 2014. Has been left shaken after he was confronted by a notorious sex offender. There's the article still there. Wacky do. After the initial phone call on October 10, I did not pull the blog post down with the threats to kill prison officer Liam Samuel Cashman. I wanted that left up as I knew the power of Masonry in the local Jewish community in Western Australia. I wanted that record of events public, even with assurances from Minister Francis. A large wave of South African Jews immigrated to Perth post-apartheid. Listen, how the hell do I get hide Checkbot Circa? Go away. A large wave of South African Jews immigrated to Perth post-apartheid South Africa, especially the South African Jewish community, have a long and well-recorded history of extremely close cooperation with Israeli special forces and Israeli intelligence. I would find out only very recently the Prime Minister Netanyahu of Israel had extremely close ties with Western Australia, which I will place on the record in the next few pages. Hence why the WA Masonic Network was so confident it could attempt to intimidate a serving state minister. But he's a Jesuit. Surely he would just wave his special magical Jesuit wand and all would be well. Hence why the WA Masonic Network was so confident it could attempt to intimidate a serving state minister with the backing of a former Special Forces commander. That is how brazen this highly organised criminal element within Western Australia is. Its tentacles are in fact Australia-wide. Just 6 days after the minister was confronted on the grounds of Parliament House, I was raided by WA police and charged with threats to kill, and that's a promise to F and kill, and making a private telephone call public. I was happy for the publicity after the threats against the minister, and I was going to get him on the stand. And they delayed for 2 years, put a gag order on me for 2 freaking years, and that's when I had enough. I said, yeah, I'm going to plead guilty. I want to. And then they said, well, you need a psychiatric review. I said, fine. Then I found out, because I know everyone in Western Australia and Perth. I know everybody. Then I found out as a former registered nurse that they couldn't get a psychiatrist to do the evaluation. All the psychiatrists refused. None of them wanted to be associated with the psychiatric evaluation. That's when I said, you know what, I'm just jumping on a plane and going to Malaysia. I'm going to get the hell out of here and try and get to Iran. So this is the Foreign Minister, Julie Bishop, and making a private telephone call public. So this was another charge. I was not aware at the time that the Australian Foreign Minister, Julie Bishop, was a close personal friend of Benjamin Netanyahu, not just a political associate in good terms as I had thought. Here's the video I'm arrested for. No, I'm implied at all times. The call is clearly in the public interest, all things considered, blah, blah, blah. And all I did was ring up and speak to her chief of staff and say, look, and I published the phone call. I was perfectly polite. And I said, I made a private telephone call public. And anyway, I go through all this stuff and you got to read it, particularly if you're used to Western Australia, you know how corrupt it is. You've got to understand it's a very special place. It's like Israel. It's a big Garden Island naval base, special forces bases, gigantic, filthy, rich, twiggy forest. Gina Reinhardt, they're all in deep with Israeli intel, heavily, heavily, heavily infested down there. And voila. So, and it's such a great, and then I had all this linked up with my mega account so you could see videos and all that stuff, and they deleted it, 1.2 terabytes, deleted the whole thing. That's why I haven't bothered putting it up again. They'll just delete it all again. But maybe I will. Maybe I will. So let's keep going along. We get down to where? Where are we now? Okay, we're getting closer. So that's the first Jesuits, SAS Commander James McMahon and Minister Joe Francis, good people, very neo-Conish, very good friends with Jesuit priest in training, Tony Abbott, former Prime Minister of Australia, and we'll get to that in a minute. These are all the records of my call to Foreign Minister, but they've all been deleted now. So the Perth District Court is replete with Masonic symbolism, like the pyramid on the main front face. This is where I was tried in a farcical show trial worthy of the Chinese Communist government. And just to let you know that, again, I'll repeat, the local Jewish Maccabean magazine is published and distributed by Laser Mail, which also publishes and distributes the local West Australian Masonic magazine. So that is the Perth District Court, and I remember I had some good lawyers. John Bowger was a good lawyer, and he said, you know, Brendon, until you raised this, I never even noticed that damn pyramid. This is unmistakable as nothing else but a grand statement of who runs Perth, Western Australia. What's interesting about that building, and the head court guy is a Polish Jew family out of Poland who actually runs the court. It's totally run by Jewish power. Police Services and Secret Societies Part 2, Benjamin Netanyahu, Kerry Stokes and Australian Foreign Minister Julie Bishop. Here is the Israeli court building in Jerusalem. Here is a major Masonic monument near the Israel-Egypt border. Now, this is where it gets interesting. Now we see Prince Charles and Lord Jacob Rothschild having a little bit of a tussle, a little of a stoush. But we're going to get into this guy, Kerry Stokes. He is a Jesuit. He's also good friends with Henry Kissinger and Lord Jacob Rothschild. Here he is very good friends with the former Foreign Minister, Julie Bishop, who I was told after I got an email stating, "Dear Mr. O'Connell, can you please provide us with a link to your UN document?" And I went, "Oh, okay." And I went, "That sounds like a very..." And 2 weeks later, Julie Bishop was told to F off. She was trying to run for state election, and she just disappeared from the face of the earth. And I heard she was told to F off by ASIO because they ran around calling me mentally ill when I'd been trying over and over again to make contact to come back to Australia. And so there they are again, Julie Bishop with a little boyfriend, Kerry Stokes. Skype called to Solicitor Kevin. Kevin had worked in the British High Court and was doing my case. And again, you just won't believe it, what went on. There's Chabad in various places, of course. Remember, this is 2019 I made this. I'm going to have to get this all up to date. Secret societies, gold mining, Chabad, Lubavitch, and Benjamin Netanyahu and her friends. I go deep into these criminals, Mr. Billis, Mick Many Names. You wouldn't believe the stuff that went on. They're all into lithium mines. They've got giant places up near Belgium. I was promised a job. He said, "If you stop talking about me, I will give you an apartment near the frickin' NATO headquarters in Brussels with an apartment, and we can hang out." And I just went, "Nah, I don't think so, buddy." So yeah, you don't know the half of it. I keep saying to people, you have no idea. I just roll my eyes in the back of the head. There's a lot of excellent stuff in here. There are Mick Many Names, a bunch of clowns, and they're filthy billionaires. You've never heard of them. And they're all associated with Ahmed J. Malkoun, who was recently blown up in Athens, Greece, ex-Comanchero president, seriously wounded. They're all over there in Dubai, where all the drug, diamond, money laundering, secondary weapons trade, all that stuff. You would love this. Good old Chabad Lubavitch, Diamond Joe Goodnick. You can't make this stuff. This is a brilliant document. I haven't gone over it in a while. We go into Prisoner X. But where I'm getting to is where are you, my friends? Where are you? Looking for Kerry Stokes. Now, Kerry Stokes, of course, owns the West Australian newspaper and good friends with Netanyahu, very close friends with Netanyahu, Crown Casino, James Packer. But get this, they actually defended me in his 7 Network newspaper, the West Australian. This is Paul Murray, who is good friends with our Jesuit Prime Minister, Tony Abbott. Let me get up Tony with so you understand who I'm talking about. Let's get up Abbott. Let's get him up. There's Tony with Kissinger and Murdoch. All right. And they're people that know Tony well. Now, here he is with a very good guy, SAS guy, who he's a senator in Western Australia. I've forgotten his name, but he wrote an article. I didn't join the army to kill kids in Afghanistan. And due to F-ups, kids were killed. And he was so disgusted with the war in Afghanistan, he resigned his commission. Again, you may not like their politics, but he's a senator now. It's amazing that so much of this comes from these people. There's Tony with James Packer, who's also good friends with Kerry Stokes. There he is with good old Prince Philip. There's Tony. I was invited out with Tony Abbott and his crew. All right, Peter Schack, you don't know who that is. Peter Schack is like the Karl Rove-ish type of personality for the Liberal Party federally, not just Western Australia. I was in jail with him, would you believe? He was in there for a form of fraud. I actually quite liked him. We walked around. He said, "Actually, it's been really good for me. I'm off the wine, the cheese, and I've lost weight." And, yeah, that was Peter Schack. If you know Australian politics, Bob Hawke, sworn enemy. Bob Hawke, very famous Prime Minister of Australia, Rhodes Scholar and town drunk, although it was hard not to like him. And there they all are again. So imagine. So Jesuits, Vatican, House of Windsor. There's Tony Abbott, the former Prime Minister of Australia, Jesuit priest in training. And he has criticised a lot of very interesting people. And these people, Paul Murray, who wrote this editorial, is a good friend of Tony Abbott. And they wrote in defence of free speech and actually did a very positive article on me and said, "This is ludicrous, locking this man up." And he says, "So is it now racist to call someone a racist? Or is it racist to call someone a homicidal maniac? Or is it only racist to call a Jew a racist homicidal maniac? Surely not. Have we become so instinctively PC that we no longer distinguish what is racist and what is just stupid?" Anyway, the newspaper reported that the offending words by O'Connell to Mr. Keyser were that Judaism was a religion of racism, hate, homicide, and ethnic cleansing. Later, he filmed himself, blah, blah, blah. Man, these people are all Jesuit or Jesuit affiliated. There's old Bibi. That is what I sent to the new foreign minister. Now, this is Kerry Stokes. New article, Netanyahu saves Packer, corruption charges. Please note the last line. Margin call deduced at the time that there was three contenders for the caller. Netanyahu, former Israeli President Shimon Peres, or the head of Mossad Yossi Cohen, all of whom were close to Packer. Clearly, Stokes was not exaggerating. Think about what we're talking about here. I'm a big collector of newspaper articles. This was the Australian newspaper. It's like the New York Times of Australia. October 9, 2019. Bibi was the only one who managed to convince him to come to Israel. I think that saved his lights, Haaretz reports Milchan as saying. That's Arnold Milchan, The comments clarify an intriguing comment Kerry Stokes made a year ago at the Perth launch of our colleague Damon Kidney's Packer biography, The Price of Fortunes. Packer said, Stokes, that's Kerry Stokes, all right, that's the West Australian newspaper owner, who I heard was heard mentioning that I could have a career in politics. And I'm like, what the fuck you do? Just give me my fucking job back, clear my name, and I want newspaper reports saying what you did to me. And they just went, these things are handled quietly. Kerry Stokes made a year ago at the Perth. Stokes said that a person in, quote, the highest possible position in Israel made a telephone call to Packer after the breakup, telling him to listen to the 7 Network Billionaires Council. That's Kerry Stokes. That's this guy right here. This was 8 months after I was out of jail. He just bought the Rothschild Bible. Yes, that's right, the Rothschild prayer book for 15.5 million Australian dollars, which is about 12 million US dollars. 10 million US dollars. Okay? That's their Bible, Christian Bible. So think about that. Then I have Fred Smith, FedEx, Skull and Bones, contacted me. They're all Jesuits. All Jesuits, all of them. All right. What do we got here? Lots of stuff. All righty. Just saying, it's rather complicated, isn't it? What do you think? Do you think it's rather complicated? Do you think these are all Jesuits, self-proclaimed, and also Bill Bosch was the head of Serco Private Security in Acacia Prison. And he said, I was trained by Jesuits, you know. And I was like, I don't even know what that means. When I was in jail, he wanted to talk to me. And he said, now, Brendon, he said, we'll hold the talking stick. If I hold it, I will talk. When you hold it, you can talk. I said, dude, fuck off. Stop getting in my fucking mail to my lawyer. I have a right to look into your mail. No, you're not. You're a private fucking company. You have no right getting into my lawyer's mail for the good order and management of the prison. Fuck you. Oh, I had fun at Acacia Prison. Well, Bill Bosch was, of course, former South African intelligence Jesuit. All these Jesuits. Oh, and I had Opus Dei up there in Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia as well. Royal Malay Military Intelligence. Catholic Opus Dei people. I was invited up to the W Hotel wet deck with oil and gas executives and consular staff. I never went. Then, of course, I had this gentleman, not directly, through his sister, Colonel Andrew Kernan. Seems like a very nice man. See this guy? Let's get that up. You know what his job is? Actually, we never had sex with his sister because she was a devout Christian and knew sex before marriage. That is her brother, the Deputy General Counsel Fiscal. Do you know where? Many of you will know this, but let's put up where, shall we? I'll show you where. Yes, that is correct. He is the lead lawyer. The lead lawyer for Dov Zakheim's own job, the head of the comptroller, the $1 trillion budget, Deputy General Counsel Fiscal. Mr. Kernan, he was a former Army Ranger, and he was tapped at one stage to command JSOC. In fact, his sister told me, I think my brother lost his command of JSOC because of us. I said, you mean because of your behaviour in Kiedi Taro, taking cocaine with strangers, lock him in the Airbnb? She contacted me again recently, and in the end, she just drove me insane. Again, I was trying to be diplomatic, and I gave up. Mr. Kernan is the Deputy General Counsel for Fiscal in the Office of the Do you wonder why nobody's ever heard of me? Do you ever wonder why? How banned I am? I said, give me some fucking money. I am not lying for you. They've come to all the people online, and they're all towing the line, including Whitney Webb. I said, yeah, I'll tow the line, $3.8 million, and then fuck off and leave me alone. How about that? Still waiting for the money. Shit, they won't even buy me a Mavic 4 Pro drone. Creator pack. If you're still there, please. Mr. Kernan is the Deputy General Counsel for Fiscal in the Office of the General Counsel of the Department of Defense. In his role, Mr. Kernan is the department's most senior attorney on matters of congressional appropriations, serving as the principal legal advisor to the Undersecretary of Defense, Comptroller, and the broader Office of the Secretary of Defense staff pertaining to his development, request, and execution of the department's nearly $1 trillion annual budget. Further, Mr. Kernan and his office provide determinative legal guidance to the entire Department of Defense enterprises on fiscal matters, coordinating closely with senior legal advisors at every military department, defense agency, and combatant command. Mr. Kernan also supervises the general counsels of multiple defense agencies, to include the Defense Finance and Accounting Service and the Defense Contract Audit Agency. Mr. Kernan assumed the Deputy General Counsel fiscal position after 25 years of active military service in the U.S. Army, with 20 years as a judge advocate. He was, in fact, General Milley's top legal advisor. That's where we were sending Mike Gill's stuff. Mike Gill knew that. I said, this is where we're sending it to, dude. It's going to get right into the hands of General Milley. I waited 2 more weeks and he refused to hand it over because his little FBI hand has told him not to. That's why. So that's how much he cares about the witnesses. That's how much Mike Gill cares about anything. Other prior positions include Deputy Legal Counsel to the Chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, that's General Milley, and numerous leadership roles with legal officers, advising commanders and senior decision makers within the Department of the Army and its operational units at the Corps, Division, and Brigade level, as well as those advising various subordinate tasks or task forces of U.S. Central Command and U.S. Special Operations Command. He is a combat veteran of both the Iraq and Afghanistan wars. Blah, 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 blah. Very talented person. Seems like a very nice guy. I read all your text to Leah, your sister, by the way, Andrew. As I kept telling her, seeing as your brother's in such a senior position, why don't you put a fucking password on your phone, Leah? Yeah. Hey, Leah, instead of calling your brother a effing coward over COVID and COVID vaccinations, why don't you be nice? It's quite a good contact to have, and we're supposed to be married and all that, you know? Nah. I said, gee, you really care about the future. I think your brother sounds like a pretty nice guy. Well, he's a nice guy. He's the golden child, man. Yeah. And I just said, Leah, I'm just curious how your brain works. Put a fucking password on your phone. She didn't. She left it on the bed. She went out to shower, and I looked through all the text messages. Seems like a very nice, intelligent, kind of sensitive person, family man. Leah's father called me after all the drama. She tried to have me arrested. She said I tried to kill her 3 times. I said, that's a lie. It's on video. Joe, have you got the video? Joe spoke Spanish. Joe spent 20 years in Mexico and speaks multiple languages. Who knows who her friends are, but she spoke to the police and I recorded the video. And I quipped, I got to give up, under pressure, I can still crack a joke. He's tried to kill me 3 times. The police were very good. This is Tequiscapan. They were actually very professional. I was impressed. I had 3 run-ins with the police and they were professional on every time. And they had someone who spoke English and they were asking, is there any marks on her? Is she fine? I said, I've given her $1,000, 20,000 pesos. I bought her a plane ticket. I want her out of my effing house now before I kill her. And she's tried to kill me 3 times. And she's walking in and out of the house. She chucked the shits because I managed to open the door, grab her suitcase and throw it out the yard onto the street. So get out of my fucking house. And she's tried to kill me 3 times. I said, that's a lie. I've only tried to kill her once. And I was going, Brendon, you're a genius under pressure. Anyway, he had to be there. But seems like a very nice guy. But I'm sorry, it's newsworthy considering all the shit I've been through, the fact that I really have nowhere to go. I'm having to head to other places now. I'm sorry, but no one gets out of here alive. I say it's public interest, newsworthy, and I'm trying to get across to people what they're fucking doing to me. And I've never accepted. I'm not playing the game. I'm not doing it. I want compensation and I'll fuck off. But I'm not lying for you like fucking Tucker Carlson or like a Whitney Webb and all the rest. So I hope that resonates. The highest level people, Fred Smith, for crying out loud. I mean, I'll get it up just for the record in case someone hasn't seen it. I guess I could. Leah's not really worried about her becoming known. She's more worried she looks really frumpy in the video where she locks me in the Airbnb and I absolutely go off. Absolutely go off. Her biggest worry is she looks frumpy. Not that she was engaging in insalubrious activities in a foreign country. There she is. Freaking Gemini, Aquarius rising with a freaking moon in Aries, square Mars. It was a nightmare. Argue. No, Leah, I know what I'm doing. Please stop telling me what to do, okay? You can please advise. I always listen to your opinion. Argue, scream, yell. And I thought, dear God, is what the young men of America have to put up with? Unbelievable. Anyway, she was extremely smart and extremely good at research, adores Donald Trump for some reason that shall only be known to God. There she is looking sexy and sultry, where I ask her, are you going to take cocaine again and lock me in an Airbnb and engage in ridiculous behaviour? And she puts her nose in and said, I said, yeah, we're done. That's it. So you had to be there because I think deep down I love drama, but I'm pretty sure I'm done. And that's the yellow van, the white Vanunu van with her new friends who she met on the street, who she took cocaine with. It's not like she's a raging drug addict or anything, but it needs to be said. This is the sort of shit that was going on. What else? It's all right, Leah. Her old man called and asked to speak with me. I said, look, it's no offense. I don't want to speak to anyone. I want out of this. This intrigue is driving me insane. What are the chances? When she first told me, oh, my brother's really high up in the Pentagon, she sent me pictures of her with him in the Pentagon. She says she's like General Milley's top legal advisor. And I went, all right. And I'm thinking, are you kidding me? And then I thought, I was pushing her away. Now, I prayed for a wife. I was prostrate on the floor, literally going, if I don't get my mental health right, I'm going to lose the plot. And I thought I have to accept my fate. I'm here in Mexico. Mexico's not so bad. And I've got to get my health right. But I need a wife or something. I've got to settle down. I said, Lord, please, need a wife, got to settle down, blah, blah, blah. And I felt so good after that prayer. I was prostrate, like face down on the floor. And it was a really good prayer. And I think my tablet was right near me because lo and behold, 3 days later, she turns up and says, hi, my name's Leah. Your stuff's excellent. I used to like Whitney Webb, but someone said I should listen to you. And then I came here and I've been to Perth, Western Australia. And then, we're getting to know each other. I was thinking, oh, yeah, I said, God, I need someone 32 to 35. She was 33. And no kids. I said, I'll have one kid. She had no kids. She'd never been married. So there we go. And then she told me her brother was, and I was almost going to go, look, I don't want, that's too intrigued for me. Then something said, Brendon, you keep asking for help. God sends you a wife. Her brother's high up in the Pentagon. Maybe that's a good thing, and you should stop pushing these people away. You push away James McMahon. You pushed away Minister Joe Francis. You pushed away their whole crew. You told them to get fucked to their face like an idiot. And they were actually pretty good guys trying to clean out corruption in that state. You pushed away Fred Smith and Joseph Davies and all the rest. Fred Smith, that's FedEx, Skull and Bones. Maybe you should stop pushing people away and understand what a good contact. That would be your brother-in-law. Think about it. So if you ever wonder why I'm so uptight and losing my mind, it's because of this. And little did I know Leah was an absolute fucking nightmare. And people said, that's pretty common, Brendon. She's one of these feminists, but it's an opposite feminist. She stays at home, does her nails, has kids, and she gets her hair done and talks to the girls. That's her form of the feminism. She doesn't work. And I said, well, no, what are you bringing to the table? I said, why don't you help me with all my research and we could work together because you're really good at research. And she said, I am not your employee. And I was thinking, what the hell? What is this? And people said, Brendon, that's what young men in America are fucking dealing with on a daily basis. And I said, that would drive me. I'd end up strangling them. So I'm not used to it. Every woman I've had's been a good-looking, attractive, smart woman who loves to cook. Every girlfriend I've ever had. Every girlfriend. I don't know. I was the man and they were the woman, and we were respectful to each other, and we fought and argued, and we broke up for various reasons. I had a few girlfriends in my day, all the little stunners. And lo and behold, I haven't had a problem getting women, basically. And I can't really relate. And then they said, but Brendon, that's what it's like. That's one version of what young men are putting up with now. And I thought, dear God, please forgive me, Lord, for not understanding. I don't know what that's like in Australia these days. I have no idea. But there's just an example. Let's quickly get up Fred Smith. Now, Joseph Davies was his nephew. A lot of you know about this, but it's important to talk about it again. Because Jeremy Rothschild, Greg McCarran never breathed a word. Ryan Dawson, imagine Ryan Dawson. Oh my God, we were talking with Fred Smith's nephew. And he's sending me private pictures. All right. That's the small one. I want the one where Joseph's kids are blurred out. All right. So there's Fred Smith of FedEx. Now, brave warrior, Silver Star, Bronze Star for Valor in Vietnam. I read some of the reports, his actions in combat. He was the real deal, not one of those pretend ones. There he is with John Kerry, his other skull and bones mate, with Heinz Kissinger. There is Joseph Davies, who we all chatted to for over a year. 2 weeks after I did that, Israeli Drones Worldwide. Mudge, 2 weeks later. Donald Trump had called out the head of Lockheed, Marilyn Hewson, and asked her if she was going to lose any more tech, and that's when we were contacted by Joseph Davies. That is Fred Smith's daughter, Molly Smith, who runs Allcon Productions, or is it Allcon or Black something? I can't remember. They made Sicario 1 and 2, La La Land, and Blade Runner 2049, one of my favorite videos. Seems like a very nice lady. And that is a private photo sent to me. Oh, here I am with my uncles come to my house. So this is Joseph's house, and I blurred out the photos of the kids and all the rest there. That's a private photo of Fred Smith, just in case you think, I had Joseph in bed with his kids and his wife. It was all just playing like Family Man. And I believe they were probably going to do something with Roger Reeves' script, but I kept saying to him I was blind and I was getting asked out to Opus Dei, Royal Military Intelligence, asked out to oil and gas consular officials at the same time. So I'm pretty stupid. But I'm like, I thought, we're going to fight this or not? Why do you keep pushing me onto the white nationalist movement? Well, that's a good question. That's where I believe Nick Fuentes is part of this crowd, this Skull and Bones crowd. That's where I believe it's coming from. Well, there you go. So they're all a bunch of Jesuits, a lot of Jesuits there. And I will now talk to you. Someone said I look Macedonian. I thought that was hilarious. The Jesuits. Okay, let's read your stuff. What do we got here? So look, he takes the GRU Soviet money. I got 8 tons of documents. Why is Georgetown University located in DC? A bit sus to me. Don't know, you mean George Washington University? Georgetown's a suburb, isn't it? I don't know. You tell me. Good guys. So true. Haven't they infiltrated the Bible and Quran, Brendon, and not the Talmud? What are you talking about? The Jesuits have infiltrated the Talmud? Come on, just stop it, please. It's always someone else. Look, by your own admission, then, the Egyptians run everything under the pyramids because the Egyptian empire, why don't we go back to ancient Babylon and the Egyptians? Where do you want to end it? I can tell you every single Jew who proudly says, I am a Jew and I am running everything, from the lead advertising and marketing companies to social networking science to AI to Akamai to the Royal Israeli Military Intelligence, Telpia, Unit 8200. They're running Wall Street. They're graduates into law from Unit 8200 and they do legal stuff on Wall Street. They're in things you wouldn't think of, huge databases to do with insurance, oldest Portuguese universities. You can find all the little icons underneath these giant insurance companies, health insurance companies, all proud Jews, all proud Zionists. Everywhere I look, it's the same. Every single place there is a proud Jew, proud Israeli firster, every single time. Haven't found a Jesuit yet. I'm sure there's a couple in there. A few O'Briens, a few O'Connells maybe, a few O'Shaughnessy's, a few San Giorgio's and whatever, somewhere in there. But, I think sometimes you just got to take it for what it is. Vatican's not doing too well financially, and they're desperate for money, and the royal family can't keep their scandals out of the news. It's not that they don't have power, they're just not the power. It's like people who, would blame the Bloods and the Crips and the gangsters for the drug trade without mentioning Mena, Arkansas, and the Clintons and the Bushes. It gets a little bit silly. We don't pay attention to people that are unable to format complete sentences. Try again. I have no idea. I waited 5 seconds. What's going on? Is Zachary Haver going to call in? Look at all these great questions. He's on Substack, mate. Mark my word. He has a link to his UN document, the description, to all his videos on YouTube. Independent TI concluded the most powerful group is Chabad Lubavitch. Well, they run errands, Chabad Lubavitch, but they're literally everywhere. They're hugely into Unit 8200, the yeshiva training academies. They are literally everywhere. The drug trade, diamond trade, but there's a lot of Hasidim involved in that up in Antwerp and Rotterdam, the old Portuguese and Spanish Jews. Let's not forget them. They ran the slave trade. Professor Tony Martin, let's recall that. Rangers lead the way. Yeah, he was an army ranger. Very nice guy, actually, Andrew Conan. I don't say these things lightly. I kept it to myself for a while and thought, I'm like, this is too much bullshit. People got to understand why I'm so stressed out, and they're hacking me, they're harassing me, they're breaking into my fucking place, they're opening the Amazon automatic locks on the Airbnb I was in and changing the passcodes, and the owner's going, what the hell's going on? I didn't say anything. I was like, oh, I wonder what's going on. They come in, they rearrange my desktop computer. Those from the circumcision subverted the entire house society as sons of the world who are shrewd in dealing with their own. Yes, they've infiltrated everywhere, basically. Yes. We can debate this, that, but I like the article by Paul Lyson, Jewish Power. Let's get that up because, as he said, let's stop the bullshit. Jews have got to take responsibility. Zionist, Israeli forces. No, let's talk about Jewish Power. Oh, it's slipped down. Paul, we got you to the top. Where the hell's Jewish Power? Paul Lyson. That's, wow. Paul, I contacted Paul a few times. There we are, Righteous Jews. You've got to read this article. The crime against the Palestinian people is being committed by a Jewish state with Jewish soldiers using weapons, displaying Jewish religious symbols, and with the full support and complicity of the overwhelming mass of organized Jews worldwide. But to name Jews as responsible for this crime seems impossible to do. That's from 2004, British Jewish activist Paul Lyson. It's brilliant. It's my little red book. It's 10 pages of brilliance. It's kung fu. And these stupid arguments, Zionism is not Judaism, Judaism is not Zionism, it's just such garbage. So why aren't we hearing from Paul Lyson? Why am I hearing from a little homosexual Marano Jew called Shabbat Goy, or Marano Jews, Father's Marano Jew, whatever, Nick FUENTES? Why? Why can't I hear from Paul Lyson or Professor Shlomo Sand or Gilad Atzmon or Professor Norman Finkelstien or Reverend Ted Pike or Michael Hoffman of Revisionist History.org? Why can't I hear from Viktor Ostrovsky before they all freaking die and kick the bucket? Why can't I hear from some experts in their field, even theologians and historians? Because the doors are open now. The doors are open. The portal's open. Let's get this information out there. Let's have an intelligent conversation. Let Mel Gibson, in between beating the crap out of his Russian Israeli hordes with his Israeli Defense Force bodyguards and his great close friendship with Ari Emanuel, let's get Mel Gibson to fund a huge convention on this issue instead of him threatening to make movies and stuff because basically he wants back in, not because he gives a shit about kids. Why can't we have that? Why can't we have an adult conversation? It's not allowed. It's not allowed. You're not allowed to have a good conversation. Oh my God, it's so good. It's so good. What is a Jew? Israel Shamir, who's besties, of course, with Putin, but I guess he hasn't got much choice over there in Russia. Israel Shamir, the Russian-born Israeli writer, advocates the right of all people, whatever their ethnicity or religion, to live together in complete equality between the Mediterranean and the Jordan River. Shamir condemns the behavior of Israel and the diaspora Jews and calls for an end to their preferential treatment, but he also proposes an opposition to Judaism itself, for what he stands accused of being anti-Jewish, a charge he does not deny but actually embraces. Shamir proposes the existence of a Jewish ideology, or a Jewish paradigm, as he puts it, and proposes that it is the voluntary adherence to this spirit which makes a Jew into a Jew. I remember Father Alexis Rosenthal said, Brendon, being Jewish is an attitude, nothing more. You can drop the attitude whenever you like. He's now in charges for historical sexual abuse brought on by the Aussie Cossack. No one can believe it, but I'm getting onto that article. He was very anti-Putin. He's the one that warned me, Brendon, Putin, once KGB, always KGB. And I talked to him in 2018, 2019. Suddenly the Aussie Cossack is pushing, and they've suddenly got him on historical sex charges. No one can find the transcript. No one can find the details. He's just in jail and he'll die in jail. It's very, very strange if you know the difference between the Russian Orthodox Church, the ROC, and the ROKOR, the Russian Orthodox Church outside Russia. And they wanted Putin to repent for his KGB past. And there's the Aussie Cossack going after him, proudly stating how he got his charges laid against him. It's very strange. I'm trying to find the transcript so I can find out what went on. Shamir proposed the existence of a Jewish paradigm or a Jewish spirit which makes a Jew into Jew. For him, Jewishness is neither race nor ethnicity. There is for Shamir no such thing as a Jewish tribe or family, no biological or ethnic body from which there can be no escape. Again, Professor Shlomo Sand, the invention of the Jewish people. Further, this ideology based on notions of chosenness, exclusivity and even supremacism is, at least when empowered, incompatible with peace, equality and justice in Palestine or anywhere else for that matter. Where is my favorite bit? Let me control F. I want, yeah. This is a bit I love. What is a Jew? And he says, so these secular Jews often end up being just another round of Michael Newman's veritable shell game of Jewish identity. Look, we're a religion. No. A race? No. A cultural entity? Sorry, a religion. Because this is the key. This is why I love this part. Because this is the key to maintaining Jewish power. If it is indefinable, it is invisible. It's like a stealth bomber. You can't see it on your radar, but you sure know when you've been hit. Jewish power, with its blurred outlines and changing forms, becomes invisible. And when you can't see it, you can't fight it. Meanwhile, the assault on the Palestinians continues. What a great... This is just 10 pages. This is kung fu. I mean, I'm a pub brawler. Ison is kung fu. And then Ison, Shamir took me to task. Ison is too optimistic, he said. Palestine is not the ultimate goal of the Jews. The world is. What a brilliant article. What a brilliant article. Baba, baba, baba. Yeah. You can say that again. Baba, baba, baba. Yes, the unity of souls in their bond with the government. Lorenzo Maggio, Jesuit Curia in Rome, 1586. Wedding is just a patsy. Hoorah. Tucker Carlson is as fake as a $3 bill, but he's found Jesus. Spent all those years, never mentioned the word Jesus. He's some sort of Pentecostal universalist. Never mentions religion. Now he can't keep Jesus off his forked tongue. Can't. Jesus. They're all aiming for a Catholic theocracy. You got to be kidding me. The Jesuits were conversos. Yeah, but I'm just trying to find the Jesuits who run the central banks. That's all. The social media happened to Australian women. Instant validation from a sea of men versus just good old Jew. Fuentes is fake. Well, obviously. Used to be hard, soft as push. Yeah, I mean, it's just a joke. It's just a joke. Tucker Carlson says, he takes the GRU Soviet money. Well, you know, he could be with Skull and Bones. What they're doing is raising an army. Because they can't address the issue directly, they have to play this little game to put pressure on the opposition. Look, right now, I'm here to tell you that Israel and Jewish power is not running America. They're not running it. Bibi is doing what he's told. US elites, the Pentagon, the Department of Defense, the CIA, DIA, the intelligence community is telling Netanyahu what to do. And I'm telling you, there is a big, giant American intelligence asset who lives with Benjamin Netanyahu. And her name is Sarah Milikowski Sands Netanyahu. She is literally a US intelligence asset, which is why Trump's always saying, my secret weapon, Sarah. Because Trump's, look, Trump's just another FBI rat informant. That's fine. But when he got up there in front of Miriam Adelson, he said, Miriam, you got $40 billion in the bank. He was extorting her for money. Oh, she wouldn't say if she was more loyal to Israel. And he's clearly extorting them and trolling them for money. Clearly. Bibi is doing the bidding of the Department of Defense, all right? He's cleaning out Gaza, killing off the Islamic terror network he created at great cost to the... what do you want me to tell you? There's 50,000 dead. God knows how many are still living under the rubble. And I have to tell you, America, the Department of Defense gave him the means to do it. A giant US base is going into Gaza, as I said it would. And it's moving forward so far. We'll see if it ends up there, but I'm pretty confident it will be. It's to control the AI in the bunting cloverleaf map, the data and the databases. Jewish power is doing what it's told. However, the US elites don't have it all their own way because Jewish power, City of London, that whole network, particularly France, particularly Sweden, Germany to some extent, they have an enormous amount of power too because they've backdoored the living crap out of the US. See, the US can't have it all its own way. They're negotiating. So instead of the US freeing the slaves and killing off the parasite in Europe and all over the world, getting them out of the synagogues, getting them out of the mosques, getting them out of the churches, out of the Buddhist temples, out of the Communist Party, everywhere, they've infiltrated everywhere. Instead of getting this parasite out, arresting, putting people in camps, an awful lot of Goy, it'll be 90% Goy, 10% Jews, and then you can sort out the useful idiots who just didn't know any better. And I can understand people being very angry against the United States. You can't blame them. But sort out the useful idiots, and there's a lot of people that are going to have their security clearances revoked. They need new security clearance process. Obviously, even UN 8200 to help you out because clearly the people that warned me back in 2005, an Australian Jew, an Israeli Jew, they warned me about Leon Wend, and they warned me about Israel as a high technology power, and I had no idea what they were talking about. And they were clearly graduates of UN 8200 to help you out, but I didn't know what it was back then. Clearly. They said, You want to watch a Jew and an Arab make peace, Brendon? Stick a kilo of cocaine between them, watch them do a deal. And I just went, I didn't know. This is 2005. And then I got on to Leon, and then Leon went, who's clearly Unity 200 Telpiot. My friend said, oh, look what Leon's showing me. He's got video of the Collins-class sub, and at that stage, our new submarine there was no pictures of it at all. And there's Leon working on the sub, and the captain sticks his head around a bulkhead and goes, should you be working on filming all this stuff? And Leon goes, of course I should. I've got all the... Oh, he goes, okay, you got security clearances. Even the captain was suspicious of Leon. He's worked in Israel, born in Australia, and lived a lot of his life in Israel. And he's always disappearing. Now, he's married to a woman whose original husband was in the same band as my friend. She was doing the Jindalee over the Horizon radar system, and they met. I met her years ago at the Hillary's boat harbour with a guy, Lance Corporal SAS. They were together. I was thinking, I know her from somewhere. And I remember her. We were all sitting there eating together. And she had high security clearances. Very funny lady, actually. Very funny, very smart. Great sense of humour. And she married Leon. And that's how my friend met Leon. That's how we had the thumb drive of all the stuff. And I said, can I have a copy of that? And he goes, nah, Leon said, don't make a copy. And I was so tempted to grab it. But I didn't. I made a report to the Australian Federal Police when Leon said at Christmas time, and Leon's not unlikable. You know, he's likable. We poked fun at him, and he took it on the chin. I said, what about those Holocaust numbers, Leon? What do you reckon? 6 million, 5 million, 900,000? Imagine how cruel we were. And Leon said, oh, fuck off. At least Australian Jews to a point have a bit of a, I don't know. Australia rubs off on you. But he'd say, oh, fuck off. Don't give me that bullshit, please. I'm not getting into silly numbers debates. But he didn't go, oh, my God, I must report you to the ADL. So I'll give Leon that. You know, you could take a joke. Because as Australians, my generation, I was born 1970, Gen X, we poke fun at each other. You know, but whatever. Anyway, all those years ago, so Jews have been warning about this. The Israeli press has been screaming for 15 solid years. Just the US press won't tell you a damn thing. She better cook and clean too. Damn right. Women are now broken. Yeah, I don't know what the hell's going on. But cooking, man, a woman cooking and cleaning is so important. Obviously. Man, all my girlfriends cooked and cleaned. God bless them. And they were damn good cooks, and I appreciated it. I always thanked, I love being cooked for. I hate cooking. I can cook, but I hate cooking. It's so important. Your health is so important. Good quality food, a stable family. You know, the kids need their mother for at least the first 5 to 7 years, at least forming that stable home, not latchkey kids, lonely children, absent parents. Fucking terrible. Oh, why are children so effed up? Oh, I don't know. I've got a few theories. Yeah, as mean as my parents could be sometimes, and they didn't have Oprah and Dr. Phil, and they had pretty hard lives. My dad was one of 15, Brian O'Connell, one of 15, Irish Catholic. Mother was one of 3, and she'd had her hard life too, I might add. And she said the shock when she drove across the Nullarbor Plain, it was all gravel back then. And I remember as kids, I really liked, what are those little chewy things? Mints or something. Anyway, you can chew them and they soften. And with the gravel had kicked up and put a hole in the fuel line. This is when the Nullarbor Plain, which is the longest stretch of straight road in the world, it was all gravel. I remember as a kid going across there in the stinking heat, and I kept minties. I kept eating them because I loved them. And they said, stop eating them. We need them to seal the fuel line up. This is like 1975. And I vaguely remember it looked like a Soweto. My mother said it's pretty racist, where she said it looked like a coons camp, which is a derogatory term for native Australians. Well, I wouldn't call my mother. She was a bigot, but she wasn't a racist. In fact, she did a lot of work for Aboriginal communities. And but she couldn't believe it. How did my smart, handsome husband come from this upbringing? She said it was unbelievable. And he was raped by Catholic priests, just if you want to know. Told his mother, and his mother said, well, a quote. This is a quote. I asked my mother about it. So I had a few questions for him about Daddy died when I was 16, cancer. And she said, yeah, he did. He got a scholarship. He was a genius level. He got a scholarship to go to the Catholic, I can't remember which Catholic private school. He was raped by the priest, anally raped. And he told his mother, and you know what his mother said to him? This is a quote. Well, at least you got a good education. Quote. Thank you, Catholic fucking church. You're a genius. Another product of the Catholic fucking Church. I can't say as a confirmed baptized Catholic I've ever had the pleasure of the touch of the Catholic priest. I wish I had a story, but apparently a lot of people jumped on the wagon who were never touched, but they got a lot of money out of it. But yes, the Catholic Church has been freaking evil, let's face it. But you know what? I still don't want it to go down the tubes. I want it cleaned out. And we can start by going back to the Orthodox Church tradition, go back to pre-Vatican II at least, and go back and have a look at a Orthodox Church. And that's how it should be. They got rid of all the old altars, the relics, the icons, and threw them out. Now they look like Masonic temples. Thank you. Another Jesuit, Jim Condit Jr., who exposed all that. What if I came to Australia? I don't know. I have no idea. The social media happened. That's basically it. Yeah, social media. People are getting fed up with the bullshit. Probably going to pop off eventually. Nah, they're pretty good. Someone was saying they're getting that new ID in Australia. It's good. I hope they keep squeezing, and it'll push everyone offline. Oh, I'm not going to be able to buy coffee mugs and T-shirts online. Good. I hope it gets to the point where nobody can comment. Good. Maybe you'll get the fuck offline and start engaging in local and state and federal politics. I pray. I hope they get hard. I hope they start arresting, shooting people. Beautiful. Because the sooner the squeeze comes on, the sooner people might actually realise, gee, I've screamed online for 15 years. I've got 200 million subscribers. I've made a lot of money. I'm rich and nothing seems to have changed. As Bergie said, we're going to put everyone online. We're going to put them in an echo chamber. We've got AI chatbots now. They think they're the geniuses with all this money. We feed them money from our CIA credit cards or whatever, private foundation-funded credit cards, and all these clowns are sitting online balking off, going, I'm so angry. And Fox and MSNBC do the right-left paradigm, and then all the squawking alt media, which are really the mainstream media squawk boxes, start talking about that paradigm instead of talking about other things like, I don't know, who controls US critical infrastructure, world infrastructure. Not many Jesuits. Mary Silver for West Australia, 100%. IGMs, don't believe what you say, line, not what you said. No worries, matey. Where are you hoping? I am heading to Europe. People are getting fed up with the bullshit, yes. Pilgrim Society, yeah, dude, there's 5,000 freaking societies. 5,000. Tell me where all the foundation funding is coming from. Okay, tell me the history, Cecil Rhodes, Roundtable Group, City of London. Okay, tell me about that. All the families of Europe, the Hoofjuden, court Jews of Europe, all right, which included the Sephardic Jews, Portuguese, Spanish Jews up there in Rotterdam and Antwerp, the diamond trade they were involved in, all of that stuff. They're still there today running the cocaine trade out of the ports of Antwerp and Rotterdam. And of course, Atwell Security, Shin Bet started in the Netherlands, became ICTS. They do all the port security all around the world, including Antwerp and Rotterdam. That's how the drugs get in. And they also do airport security, including for 9/11 at Logan Airport and airports all around the world, including the United States. Wow, all based in the Netherlands, right next door to IMEC in Belgium and ASML in the Netherlands. Wow, wow, wow. Whitney didn't put that together. I did with the help from a few friends. Video coming soon, audio. Give me a week. I just got to finish something else. Ignatius Loyola, Nigo Lopez de Recalde, Marano Jew, was a Jesuit general, his secretary and close advisor, a Spanish Jesuit priest. Juan Alfonso de Polis was of Jewish origins. That's where they got all their money from. But what is a Jew? What is a Jew? Yeah, we're talking about women and Mary Silver. Yeah, it's so important. I want to see women as homemaker as something very important. The hand that rocks the cradle. Healthy food. Women are the ultimate intelligence agency. They're meant to have time to relax. They're meant to go to the girls, find out the gossip, what's going on when the husband comes home half exhausted. He's been focused all day. He's hunting, he's gathering, he's killing, he's avoiding saber-toothed tigers. He's killed the bison, he's hunted, he's come home. The home is nice and clean. The kids are well behaved. She's cooked a beautiful meal. He's very grateful. And she says, you know what's going on? I was talking to Sarah. She said the husband did this or did that. And what's going on? You see how it used to work? The woman watches the back of the husband and the community. First thing I'd be doing as Laventia Beria and during the roundups is making sure Homemaker gets put up there. Forget Mother's Day, Father's Day. I want Homemaker Day. I once had a proud Jew in Chicago who was deeply connected to the gang. What? Stop. How do I get rid of that? Who was deeply connected to the gang life, point a gun at my head over a FaceTime call and tell me that the only time I should be scared is if someone has a gun. Okay. Lots of proud Jews in Chicago. That's where the old mob is. Good old Aryan Ram Emanuel. Muslims are saying they are culturally Muslim now. Yeah, it's just pathetic. But who's pushing that thing? Who are these people? They're crisis actors. They work for the foundation system. Look at Omar and AOC and Linda Sarsour, the lunatic. Absolute lunatics. Linda Sarsour, one of my patrons, got in front of her with all that information in the QR code. She never said a fucking word. Not a word. Israel, boo, boo, Israel, boo, boo, cliche, cliche, UN council meeting, human rights. You give her the weapon to take them down. Not a fucking word. They're all paid crisis actors. Every last stinking one of them. If they have a profile, you see them all over the news. Crisis actor. All those Somali lunatics you see, crisis actors. They are designed to do this. Designed. So we talk about Somalis. Let's talk about Jewish bankers, central banking cartels, history, Cecil Rhodes, roundtable groups, Club of Rome, Bilderberger, Davos. No, let's talk about roundups of Mexicans, Somalis over here. Let's talk about brown people, black people, poor people over here getting too many food stamps. Let's not talk about Wall Street frauds into the trillions, the missing 3 to 5 trillion out of the Pentagon budget, Department of... No, let's not talk about that. We can walk and chew gum. We can deal with fraudulent Somalis up there in Minnesota. You can deal with the enforcement of immigration laws, do it with some compassion, though. That won't be nice. Give those that have been there 5, 10, 15 years a way in with a visa, just as they did with people like me in Mexico. We had the opportunity to pay a fine and get a temporary 4-year visa. And, you psychologically profile them. They can pay tax legally and do all these other things. But they won't give them a way in. How strange, because they want to keep the slave class going and they want to keep everyone fighting. But let's not talk about Jewish bankers, central bankers, history of the House of Rothschild, all that history. The Sassoons, the Qataris, the Rothschilds of the East, Iraqi Jews, all that history. Where are the professional theologians? Where are the professional historians? The doors are wide open. Let's get those meetings happening. Let's sit down with the Orthodox. The Hasidim are lunatics. They need to know they're going into fucking camps. Their kids are being taken from them. Their wives will be freed. And they're fucking lunatics. All right, where there's no discussing it with them, and they are in the highest reaches of the U.S. intelligence and high technology. And Neuberger, like talking about, okay, Dawn, I agree that Alexis Wilson is very interesting, but why aren't we talking about Ann Neuberger? Do you ever think that was a distraction? Think about it. Who I see at the freaking NSA. Highest levels. Let's talk about Amit Yoran. Why don't we talk about that? Do you ever see we always get a replacement issue? That's never quite up there. Fucking Alexis Wilson. Look at her. Just some little hottie tart. I mean, let's talk about Amit Yoran, the one who ran all the computers on 9/11. Amit Yoran and his brother sheep-dipped in the U.S. Army at the U.S. Army War College. The worker Chris Boleyn. And their father ran Israeli aerospace industries, and they do all the conversions. Guess where they're based too? In the Netherlands, in Colombia. Maybe Sean Ryan was over there in Colombia working with them. What do they specialize in? The conversion of private and commercial aircraft. What? To put extra fuel tanks in hidden compartments and ships as well. How interesting. Videos coming soon. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Pointed to your head, he then urged me to join the Freemasonic Brotherhood. Weird story. No, I can believe that stuff. I've had similar experiences. Man, I've been stalked by Church of Jesus Christ Latter-day Saints, and I love the laity. It's my favourite people, the Mormons. Easily my favourite. Look at Outdoor Boys. Good old, what's his name? Love that. Been watching that for 7 years. He's quit now. I think his wife getting upset he was getting too famous. Luke here from Outdoor Boys. I'll be surviving and eating like a slob and eating like a king. Delicious. I love that show. I can't get enough. Yeah, Mormons are great. Oh, Masons tried to recruit me umpteen times. Freaking, I've always talk a lot with them. A lot of them are very good people. A lot of them old farmers, old families. LDS. I speak to a lot of Jews, the Orthodox Jews. Some of them were converts to Christianity, and their families were famous Orthodox Talmudic family who were also diamond and gem traders. Her grandfather could tell you the way drops of water would come off the gemstones. And all the raping, sexual assaults, domestic violence, the shit that goes on. That's what Jews talk about all day, actually, not Holocaust numbers, not Adolf Hitler. They talk about domestic violence, drug abuse. Their kids are on drugs. Guess what? Isn't it amazing? The average Jew actually has the same problem as the rest of us. It's quite interesting, isn't it, when you think about it? Israel, harlot, Rome, the beast. No, the beast right now I think you're going to find is the US. Or the beast is the beast system, this huge surveillance artifice they're setting up. And that Israel, the Shekinah glory harlot, is about to be booted off the beast. Tucker is Pilgrim Society. Yeah, that wouldn't surprise me. Could you send me a link for that? Would not surprise me. But, it's just, do you know how many there are? I know who goes on about that. What's their name? AIM, America. But I want you to look at those AIM people with the cat lady and whatnot. Tell me the last time they talked about critical infrastructure. They were all about the Special Executive Service. Yes, it's all true. But how about you talk about critical infrastructure? Have you ever noticed this? Or do they just give a little passing? Do you get it? None of these people are real. Anyone who was real would only have to read or watch a few of my best videos and go, holy shit. Just like Sufyan was a full-blown, I love Russia. He was learning Russia. He was going to train at Moscow University, and he just happened to come upon one of my videos, which appeared in his YouTube stream, in his recommendations. And he said he saw it and he went, holy shit, I've been scammed. Holy shit. That's when he contacted me. Okay? You know Johnny the paratrooper, 82nd Airborne? You know, I got to know him. They were SOCOM as well, his friend, come and visited. You know what he said? He said he just switched on his YouTube, and in his feed, not subscriptions, he never heard my name, he had no idea who I was. Every single one of my videos was lined up in his feed. His just normal, everyday home screen on his YouTube. That's how he found me. So they have clearly been targeting people with the videos. And I'm sure if I'd been calmer and towed the line, I probably would have got pushed a lot more. But I'd had enough. They were breaking into my fucking house, hacking me every 10 seconds. I was going insane. And I wasn't happy. And I was unwell as well. Do you know about Garcia Mendez Nazi? Oh, you mean that Nazi? I think I know Nazi, some of the families of Europe, but I don't know about that Nazi, that in particular one. Why does this jump down the damn page like that? What the hell? How did that jump down that page? Oh, that's very nice. BLO has a memory like a steel trap. No, it is returning a little. I used to have a memory like a steel trap. I could just go this. I had a photographic memory. I can remember stuff. Now I'm really, but it is coming back again. Wait right there. Don't go away. I've got to show you something. Everybody has their favorite pills. Gut healing. Zinc, L-carnosine. You've got to do it. I was told, no one, and California Gold is one of the best. And colostrum. That stuff will heal your gut. I started using that with 1 week. I felt the difference. I was told back when I collapsed, I had zero testosterone. My testosterone was zero. I was lying in bed, couldn't move, just completely wrecked. Double the estrogen. Cortisol was so low. It was horrible. Horrible. Chronic fatigue, would fall asleep at the drop of a hat. Drinking 14 cups of coffee, going insane. Someone sent me an email with all the directions. Brendon, you have leaky gut. Brendon, you have this. You must heal your gut first. Then you must use this. Watch your diet. Go do ketogenic diet for a while. See what suits. Also try carnivore, blah, blah, blah. But then, it was a brilliant email. I can't find it. And they gave me, and they said, but heal your gut first. Well, instead of that, I went and did I spent so much money on pills. I showed him a picture. They said, you got to be kidding me. I have a chemist. I have a pharmacy. But that stuff, and it's not that expensive, has changed my life. Do I sound a little bit different, a little bit better? I still go off sometimes. I can feel it. My mood's changing. My gut, but I'm on a quasi-ketogenic. I can't have any roughage, any broccoli, no roughage, no frijoles, no beans, no nothing. Just very basic stuff. And now I can eat eggs for the first time. I can eat cheese. Before I'd start coughing and feel terrible when I'd eat cheese or eggs. I can drink milk, although I don't drink a lot of milk at all. I still don't. And I can have as much bread as I want. Just no roughage. Pure white bread, or like the cheap sweets and crap you get at like the supermarket. If I had one of those, I would literally start losing the plot. It was that potent. I can eat that crap all day, and it beats going to a cafe and paying 4 times as much. I can eat it all day. I try not to for the sugar, but I'm just experimenting. And it's colostrum and it's zinc carnitine. I beg you, it's scientific studies. Everyone's got a favorite. Start there. B1 benfotiamine, fat-soluble thiamine, of course. There's a range of stuff. You just got to experiment. But it's changing my life, like every day. Plus, I'm very heavily Scorpio Pluto personality. And right now I've got Pluto sitting on my ascendant, and it's heavy as hell, and it's slowly easing, thank God. And there's a water trine, so woo, thank God for that. Anyway, I just needed to get that off my chest. That stuff is magic. Everyone's got something they love. I get it. Everyone has their magic pill. But I'm telling you, heal your gut. Leaky gut. It's causing a huge inflammatory response. It's messing with your life. I thought when I was a kid that you ate bread and stuff and you felt tired after. I thought that was normal. No, it's not normal to feel tired after eating. You might feel heavy, you might feel uncomfortable. You shouldn't be going, oh, I'm tired. You feel a bit depressed. You've lost your get up and go. You woke up in the morning, you were ready to rock, and then you're going, what am I doing again? You got this brain fog. I've had it my whole life because I've had a huge leaky gut problem. I got the moon in Virgo, conjunct Pluto. Of course, I've got gut problems. Everyone's got their weakness. Mine is my gut. But I'm also very sensitive, and my gut will resonate like a bell when something is true, and it will just go when something is a lie and somebody is bad. It will tell me straight away without fail. Pilgrim Society TV. Tucker is Pilgrim Society. Yeah, look that up for me. Nazi, yeah, I know the Nazi families out of Europe, but not that particular Garcia Mendez. Also, you could look up the Syndicus movement out of Spain. They were heavily involved with Hitler, Trotsky, and Mexico as well. Honey brought from Pentagon to Mexico. I don't know. It's possible because I have so many crazy synchronistic events happen. They always have my whole life. I got Venus and Jupiter in the 10th house of career. I have crazy coincidences happen before any of this started. She told me, I said, I don't like the fact you fucking set me up. And I said, you're lucky I don't strangle you and beat you to death and throw you out this fucking door. That's when I told her to get the fuck out of my house. And she said, no, you're just paranoid. And she's got an answer for everything. Trust me, she's good. She's good. Could she be a plant? Well, obviously that is your first protocol. Yes. Yes, she could be a plant. Or was it, as she said, that she was a huge Whitney fan? She had a really good job teaching Chinese kids, and she's very good with kids. Like, I've seen her working with kids, and she is really good at it. But the trouble is she treats everyone like a child, including a 6 foot, 200-pound man. And it's just like, sweetheart, I'm Scorpio, please. I have Aquarius rising. Don't stop. No, I will listen to you. Don't start ordering me around. It's a big mistake. Don't do it. Couldn't help herself. I said, do you realize why you're single? You're an attractive young woman and you still haven't got a man, but you love your strong men, but no strong men's are going to put up with you. Do you understand your dilemma? You've got to look at your moon in Aries, square with Mars. It's a perfect square with Mars. This is the problem. No, she's got Jesus and that's enough. Oh, well, shame. She'd be a good mother, and I wish her well, and I do pray that she finds a man. But she claimed she was into Whitney Webb. She lost her job with China because of the COVID crap, and the Chinese companies she was teaching English to Chinese kids shut down, and everything was shut down, so she had to move out of Florida and go back home. And she was pissed, and that's how she discovered Whitney Webb. And also noted to her laptop has remote monitoring software, legitimate remote monitoring software from the Chinese company she was working for. It was legit because they're monitoring, obviously, what she's teaching the kids. And I said, Leah, you know your brother's position and all your emails? You do realize you have a Chinese Communist Party app on your laptop? I mean, you couldn't make this stuff up. But anyway, she said, got into Whitney Webb, and she worshipped the ground Whitney Webb. Then someone said, you should watch Brendon O'Connell's stuff. He exposed Whitney Webb. She took all their stuff and then was limited hangout, blah, blah, blah. And then she found me. That's how she said it happened. It's possible. But the bottom line is, I don't know. All I want to know is, when I first met her, I thought, she's a little weird. And I put her in the spam folder for a while. Then I got her and I thought, oh, I did ask for a wife. I've got to do something different. So I ignored my intuition. We did our synastry charts, and this is what's amazing. I love synastry charts. It said, you will feel a sense of fate between each other, that it's meant to be. There will be some crazy coincidence. And you think, oh, my God, the gods are smiling upon us. But they said, the moment you come together, it's chaos. And, man, it was so true. I've never had a relationship like that ever in my life. Ever in my life. And never again. Thanks for all you do, Mary. Yes, she does great work. She's a plodder. I don't have the patience, but she can plod, and I think it's a plodder's world. If you can plod, and just stick at it, you're going to win. I was a plotter too, but after 15 years, I'm over it. Love James. You know Jim Conda Jr. What a legend, man. He did some great stuff. He was very political, always pushing politically. I'm not really sure what happened to him. I'm not joining no lords. There's a wise British paratrooper who was actually worked for the Silver Mist to the Crown when he was 16 as an apprentice. Bernard Tandy, Tandy. His wife was Robin Tandy, the first ordained Anglican minister, female. Very liberal people, a bit too liberal even for me. Bernard looked like Sir Alec Guinness and sounded exactly like Sir Alec Guinness. He looked exactly like Sir Alec Guinness in Tinker Tailor Soldier Spy. He was a British para. He knew all the SAS guys and used to go skydiving with them. And he was the regimental commander's bodyguard when the Stern and Ergon gangs were trying to kill the British paratroop regimental commander in Palestine. And he had stories to say when he was in Palestine. They felt so sorry for them because they'd watched all the videos on Dakar. And the British, this is a bullshit about the British set this up. This is a fucking lie. Balfour Declaration, Rothschilds, yes. But the British themselves, no, they did not want this. The job of the British paratroopers and others were to arrest anyone coming ashore on the beaches of Gaza, and they were to be deported straight back to the refugee camps in Europe. Well, all the British paras felt sorry for them, and they dropped their guns and let them get past because they felt bad for them. The British were going head over heels trying to keep peace in that region. So don't make it a British conspiracy. It might be a central banker conspiracy and also a Soviet Stalin conspiracy running. Remember, Viktor Rothschild was accused of being a Soviet spy, and Margaret Thatcher, about the only good thing she ever did, refused to denounce it. So, nope, we think he is. And it was the Labour Party, the party of the workers, was demanding an apology to Lord Rothschild, Viktor Rothschild. It was on the BBC. You can find it. Viktor Rothschild, Soviet spy. Look it up. Nootropics are a hell of a thing. No, I haven't had them yet. I've heard about them. But there's also all the new, what do you call them? Oh, the new injections they've got. It's all the rage. Forgot what they're called. I am an awake pioneer woman, West Point grad, targeted, lost custody, cervical spine ruined, almost quadriplegia in May, surgery was sabotaged, on and on it goes. Yes, ladies, Rhodes kids at home. Well, Amy, I certainly hope you are not that piece of garbage who used to work on the Apaches. What was her name? That piece of shit. Ooh. Awake pioneer woman, West Point grad. Okay. Well, speak to Mary Silver, please. Amy, speak to Mary Silver. We spend a lot of time with veterans because that's who we got to get to, the military. All right? Not only are the military incredible gossips, it's ultimately the military, not even the police, but yes, talk to the police, state and federal authorities as well. It is ultimately the military that are the hired guns who will ultimately seal the fate of the Constitution of the United States of America. It is ultimately the military that defend the Constitution of the United States, the big dick, the big divinely inspired Constitution, the ultimate dick, the biggest dick in the world, designed to penetrate all over the world and spread the seed of freedom, to spread the seed of individual liberty, and to spread the seed so that the acorn can become an oak and not a donkey, as Carl Jung once said, to individuate. Jesus said, I've come to free the slaves. The Old Testament quote when he introduced himself back, when he came back from the temple after years abroad. I've come to free the slaves in the Old Testament book of Isaiah. I've come to free the slave, to set at liberty those who are bruised. Right? He's talking about the serpent, the limbic system, from your anxiety, your fear, your anger, to liberate the person through repentant tears, to grieve, to cry, whether you're in therapy or you're monastic or you're a Sufi mystic or you're whatever. Repentant tears, not spiritual hubris where they're all running around manifesting and thinking positive thoughts and doing their mouth exercises and meditating. Fucking hate meditation. I don't want to meditate. I want to get angry. I want to engage in politics, not run away from it. You wonder why, as Yuri Bezmenov said, in the day when they were in India and they were pushing the ashrams because they were sucking in all the people, and of course it preaches peace and passivity, and the Soviet Union wanted to push that. You don't think the Cuban DJI and all the witchcraft stuff and the white witch stuff that they've got all over here in Mexico, and they're all into this spiritual stuff, not interested in politics? Well, a lot of them are. Claudia Scheinbaum. Remember my little girlfriend, the white witch, the old communist. What were you doing in Cuba? I said, 1992 when you were 19. Oh, I just went over there. Oh, right. We're meeting the DGI, were you? Ana Montez. Oh, all of them. Cuba, witchcraft, Soviet Union, they're all involved in that stuff. Alistair Crowley, look at Alistair Dugan. A lot of good things happening behind the scenes, a lot of good things happening. Anastasi Intek, the Russian YouTuber, made a video gushing over IMEC, even meeting with CEO who said he loves her channel, and another video claiming American ships are dead in the water, so petty. Well, I don't think so, because I know someone over there in the Netherlands, and they said they are offering enhanced visas to some of the top engineers at ASML, visas to America. So you can kiss IMEC and ASML goodbye over time. They're already getting squeezed the hell out of them. There's a new book out, how they were working closely with China, trying to bypass stuff. You will see the Netherlands lose, well, they won't lose it completely, but the top people will have to. In fact, if you're in Europe and you're qualified, you might as well get your US visa ready. I'm sorry. Freedom is the answer. That is true. But are the US coffin masturbatory elites going to free the slaves in Europe from the parasite, from the central banking cartel? Because at the moment they're doing a deal because they're just so backdoored and so corrupt themselves. This is the problem. America cannot move. It's got one arm tied behind its back because of all this filth. And there's Trump enriching himself with a couple of billion and growing. The meme coins. He's standing over Miriam Adelson. 40 billion in the bank, Miriam. Who are you loyal to? Trump's got no shame. He'll extort someone in full view. Full view. I want to laugh, but I don't laugh anymore. I cry. Jeez. Freedom is a sense. Uncommon sense Oz. Same as USA for silver bowl. Australia, you're deep in the crown corporate, baby. You got to understand there's a huge fight. Some of it's legitimate for a lot of people. It's not just people about keeping power. So we're seeing definitely a move with the Vatican. Call it the Jesuits, if you like. The Jesuits and the House of Windsor and the Swedish royalty appear to be teaming up against Jewish power. Appear to be. Yes, you know that King Charles despises Rothschild. That's why he's never visited Israel in his life. Neither did Queen Elizabeth. But King Charles wants to kill us all too. So I mean, where are you going to go? I want an end to all this. Look, maybe make Europe a place. Look, here's the basic theme. King Charles is not just out for greed. He believes that there is a natural order: alpha male, alpha male, alpha male, alpha female, king and queen. Then you have your barons, you have your ruling class. And what would happen is this: the Royal Geographic Society would get the best of the best, send them to private schools, and the elites would learn how to speak properly, and they would investigate the deserts of Arabia. They would investigate with the Royal Geographic Society, they would investigate the Amazon, and they would be scientists, and these would be the elite from the right families, and they would have talent spotters to get people like a Tesla and put them through not that they ever did that with Nikola Tesla, but you know what I mean, find a genius, put them through the private school system, fund them, and the elite would lead the way. We would clean their toilets, although there will be no toilets to clean soon with the robots, so of course they've got a plan for us. But that was the deal. And as Bernard Tandy would tell me, when he was in the British Patriot Regiment, the difference between the British system, which was very patriarchal, very paternalistic, and the American system. And they said the Americans had the best of everything. Their rations were the best. Their uniform was the best. They had the best chewing gum, the best cigarettes, the best everything, the best cars, just everything was new. Lost a tank, here's another tank. Lost a plane, here's another plane. Just they were overburdened. But what they would do is, in the British and German tradition, European tradition, you were recruited out of your local township, your local area, and that was to increase unit cohesion during times of stress. And what would happen is, as you dip below 70% combat effectiveness, and you had like 20% casualties, 30% casualties, you would be all pulled out at the same time, reconstituted on leave. Everyone would train together, getting ready to go back out again as a cohesive unit. With America, basically, you lost a man, another stranger would come in. Lost a man, another stranger would come in. And that platoon, that company, that division, that brigade, that army was always manned to the fullest, but they would just put new people in. They wouldn't withdraw them out. And they treated it like a production line, like a Henry Ford production line. And there wasn't the same unit cohesion the British and the Germans and they had. And he said they treated their soldiers very badly. Yes, they had the best of everything, but like if you as a commanding officer, if your men didn't have dry socks or your men didn't have the correct rations, you got in trouble. You had to look after your men like children. Now, That's not for some, but that's that European cultural tradition. That's Julius Evola. Please understand this. Recall Jung, Julius Evola, E-V-O-L-A. Okay, sacred tradition. That is Steve Bannon's favourite author and Adolf Hitler's favourite author. And a certain Hungarian fascist favourite author who put me onto it. The tradition is what I just explained to you. And they say this idea of freedom is ridiculous. If, as you saw Milo Yiannopoulos, the gay man that found Jesus and selling icons now, you need to go back to the crown. You need to go back. Your sedition from the crown is what caused all your problems, America. You would be in the Commonwealth in good standing. Not sure why he wasn't run out of the United States at that moment, but he's still there. But I understand the argument. It's not just about greed and control and culling. There is a tradition and people really believe it. But the thing is this, when we had this notion of individual liberty, the degeneracy moved in, didn't it? The popular culture, this was a psychological warfare operation to make sure we never saw the fruits. They never wanted America to succeed in the way it did, because then it would be a vision for Africa and the other colonial enterprises. Now, I don't know about you, but if I was an African, I mean, put it this way, how are you enjoying Europe, all the Africans coming in? Are you enjoying it? Have you learnt a lesson? Now, how the fucking hell do you think Africans felt about a bunch of white people coming over, making them second-class citizens? Would you like it? So, yes, racist apartheid South Africa had to end. The colonies had to end, but it should have been done properly, with respect and gently, but it wasn't. They just pulled everything out and let chaos reign. And as a friend said, I mean, I went out with Deborah. Her dad was best friends with Ian Smith from Rhodesia, the Rhodesian Bush War. Ian Smith from Rhodesia, before it became Zimbabwe. And he was a scary guy. Nice, very polite, but I used to get chills. So that guy's killed a lot of people. And as he said, he went back to South Africa, Cape Town and Johannesburg, couldn't believe it. There was just monkeys all over the Supreme Court building. It was just fucking chaos. But they wanted it that way. The black man must never be allowed to have any autonomy, ever. They want to keep Africa in chaos and recolonize. It doesn't have to be that way. You could go in there in a spirit of friendship and help, and America could control the world, get rid of all this degenerate freaking bullshit, Hollywood pop culture, and say, no, you can't put this shit on. This gangster worship bullshit needs to end. I mean, McDonald's needs to have warnings, and there need to be real warnings on stuff, and ask, who are these Hollywood drugged up pieces of garbage running psychological warfare programs so they could degenerate the United States, poison them with every pill under the sun, poison them with food, poison them with additives, and then go, oh, look, freedom doesn't work. Oh, look, you see the game? But maybe we should make Europe, beautiful Europe. You know, I want to go to Europe. I want to go to Moscow, see the beautiful Orthodox churches. Maybe we need to make Europe a place where people who want to live under kings and queens can go. And young, dynamic alpha males, alpha females, people who are going to reach to the stars, you go to the United States, you go to North America, whatever. But we need to, whatever we choose to do as a community, a world community, we need to understand that if we don't solve the current problem, that is individual liberty and individuals moving offline and moving into and having a say in the political process, that is an education problem. Your guns are not going to do it. Your guns are not going to save you. You're going up against Bradley infantry fighting vehicles. It's not happening. So just forget it. What's going to save you is now educating military, educating policing, and there is a doorway open now to move in the next 10 or 20 years. But no one will move. They're just sitting there online selling coffee mugs and T-shirts. Now, others will say, but Brendon, you know, these things are handled quietly. Maybe they're right. Or maybe what the real problem is, these people have got to explain to the American public in particular how for the last 70 years they got so infiltrated. If you think Israel is controlling the United States, I got news for you. They own it, lock, stock and barrel, because Israel is simply the military arm, the intelligence community arm of the City of London. They can't even control their own people over there. The Israeli press has been warning for the last 15 years. The American press won't report it. It's the biggest espionage case in history. Mary Silver got it on the record in front of 300 top-level Republicans in Seattle 18 months ago. She did that brilliant speech. Lee Levino, I'm catching up with Lee soon, in person. It's going to be fun. And all that brilliant work they've done, ambushing Corey Mills, Stephen Bannon and Charlie KIRK, educating them about Israel, Russia, China, the Belt and Road and everything else, the technology transfers. But understand they're not just over there, they're deep inside the US critical infrastructure. And just remember, it was Jews who warned me about this 20 years ago, and I had no idea what they were talking about. They said Israel is a shithole. It's a drug party place for a young 18, 19, 20-year-old. Start a family, you just want to get the hell out of there. And all the pretend Russian Jews over there, Russian GRU penetration of Israel and the United States. Stalin was instrumental in setting up the Israeli state. Instrumental, and they've been in there ever since, penetrating via Canada. That's why Canada needs to go completely. Certainly the West Coast, and I think the East Coast should go too. The EU is the enemy. That's why Macron and Trump are having a huge barney, because France is heavily in Mexico. France is all through Mexico, Central and South America. That's why they're all learning French here. And Claudia Sheinbaum is best friends with Macron because she's in with the World Economic Forum. That's where her power comes from. Obrador was a little different. He was more old school. He was an old thug. He worked with the cartels and threatening people, but he was hugely charismatic. And as a socialist, he also knew you need a decent economy. As he said, I heard him say speeches. He did brilliant speeches. He was funny as hell. And he said, without a good economy, we cannot feed the poor. We can't look after people. Claudia Sheinbaum's completely different. She is a hardcore, bright, shining Bolshevik communist. She's highly intelligent. She's certainly a very competent administrator. She's proven that. I mean, Mexico City's beautiful. I mean, I went to Mexico City with a girlfriend thinking, oh, you know, what's it going to be like? La Condesa, La Roma, oh my God, it's beautiful. I've never seen a place like, I've never seen parks so big, so stunning, trees overhanging. The trouble is your 4G phone doesn't work very well because there's so many trees. It's just stunning. I had no idea. Cafes and restaurants everywhere. I thought, this is Mexico City. Why didn't someone tell me? There's only one drawback, the smog. First time I went 3 days, it was beautiful, beautiful. Then I went back again to go for my UN asylum. You have to do it from Mexico City. It takes 3 months, and I couldn't do it. The smog was so bad. But you know what? I want to get up a video. If you don't know La Condesa, let's see if I got any footage here. No, I don't think I've got it. It's stunning. I was in love with that place. Nah, I don't know. Shit, I probably lost it all. Oh well. Anyway, let's wind this up. That's who Claudia Sheinbaum works for. She loves COVID vaccines and she wants to institute the Smart Cities program, and the Israelis will move in with all their high tech. And voila. All right, ladies and gentlemen. Oh no, we can keep going. Let's see. The make is one of the documents against other Christians. I don't know what's real, what's not. All I know is Jesuits were helping me immeasurably and giving me big thumbs up. It's very hard when the best friends of Benjamin Netanyahu, who are Kerry Stokes, Jesuit, who's also buying the Rothschild Bible, and they're all friends with Kissinger and Murdoch, and all these people are Jesuits. That's why I'm asking genuine questions. And none of them tried to kill me, tried to recruit me. There we go. That'll be the title of the book. These things are handled quietly with a sandy beret and a big thumbs up. Mary running for SeaTac district. I don't know. She's plodding. I think Bannon has the photos. Yes, he does. His Office of Naval Intelligence. He is handling Trump. And that's why Trump let him back in, because he said, because he was sworn enemy of Jared Kushner and Ivanka. Look, Bannon's infuriating, but there's nothing bad on Bannon. There's nothing. He's the one controlling the wort. He hates Chabad Lubavitch, but then, you know, now he's back friends with Jared. It's like, oh, far out. I wish this would stop jumping. Would you recommend water fasting for a week for the gut? Absolutely, but I can't do it. I love food too much, sorry. I'd recommend you just do the keto diet first, or carnivore. That's why I felt so good on carnivore. Get rid of the roughage, let your gut heal, take that stuff. Yeah. Who guards the Vatican? The Swiss guard. Yeah, but so because the people with the funny pants, who are all the Swiss? They're all fucking Jews. Who are feuding court Jews. See, this is what I mean about simple brains. The Vatican's guarded by the Swiss guard. They're all the same people. Jews. Who are feuding. I've told you. They all consider themselves descendants of King David, and they read Carl Jung, who's also from Switzerland. You know, I often ask people, just tell me where the fuck all the fucking Jesuits are in Wall Street, City of London. Just tell me. Point them out for me, will you? Tell me all the Jesuits who are running Hollywood. Tell me. It's just another group of people. Hasidim, but I don't believe them. Wish you luck, Mary. WA state is almost worse than California at this point. Please pass the 9% tax. Yeah, but look, they want to turn Seattle into, they'll probably shift Boeing and stuff down to the southern states, and they're going to build smart cities. I think they'll do it state by state, city by city. Not state by state, but city by city. They'll make each city, and Seattle will be a smart city. I believe that. Easy to ship drugs into the country there. And Atwell Security or ICTS will do the port security. Maybe we should check that out. Who does the port security in Seattle? Because as Roger told me, tons of coke would come up, either go into Vancouver and into Canada or would go into Seattle. The big ports there, 20-ton lines. Sean Ryan was doing security for a commercial industry of making trap planes, boats, etc. Was he? Please, on common sense, send me those links, because Israeli Aerospace Industries is in Colombia, Bogota. Now we have to drive to Idaho for our guns and gold. Yeah. I've always been hacked, sad to say. Yeah, well, if you're using Windows, you're done. And Apple's not that much better. What are trap planes? I have no idea. Harder to be hacked on Linux? No, it depends. Yes, it's harder to be hacked by an ordinary hacker, but they hacked me on Linux just the same, because these were high-level hackers. But for the average person, if you're just doing emails and watching videos and doing basic stuff, you should be on Linux. Linux Mint's great. That's what I'll be using. I'll be using Linux 100%. Yeah, sound much better. It's true. Would you recommend water fasting? Yes, but I can't do it. I love eating. Show true, the gut is key. Look, I've been on a long journey to learn that you got to heal the gut, and because it's hitting your thyroid, it's hitting your hormone production. Also, I used to go on low-fat stuff, which was a mistake. You need to have animal fat cholesterol for your brain and for your hormone production. And above all, vitamin D. When I was in Australia, I always got shit tons of sunshine. Vitamin D was obviously helping me cope during the stress. Then when I left Australia, I was always covered up, or the sun was behind the clouds in Kuala Lumpur. And then when I went to Iran, you had to be fully covered. I came back to Malaysia and I was inside all day, and that's when my health started going downhill. And I believe a lot of it was multifactorial, but including the lack of sunlight and vitamin D, 100%. Do you have any content discussing astrology further? No, but I will make some. It's saved my life. It's fantastic. All children need their natal charts done, your archetypal structure, so you can see your personality patterns. So when you meet someone, you can compare charts, see where your strengths, your weaknesses are. Astrology works. Quantum physics tells us that. Everything is linked. You either get it or you don't. Located in DC isn't sus. I don't know. I'll go nudge it. But see, you've got your sus. Now, tell me about all the Jews that run Hollywood, Wall Street. Are you listening to anything I say? Unit 8200, Telpiot, all the critical infrastructure. They're not fucking Jesuits. They're fucking Jews. Proud motherfucking Jews. Proud. Graduates of Israeli military intelligence, not graduates of the fucking Vatican. They all hate Roman Catholics and they hate the Vatican. And I was actually told by that guy from the Netherlands, and remember the guy from the Netherlands who said that they have nukes trained on Rome because of the old grudges? Stop with the bullshit, will you? You just latch onto this little thing so you don't have to say fucking Jews. You can say Jewish power. Read British Jewish activist Paul Lyson. You just latch onto this little thing. But the Swiss army pants, they guard the Vatican. Or you say, but it's in D.C. How suspicious. Tell me, are you going to address my fucking questions about the critical infrastructure? Your power, your electricity, your oil, your gas, your everything, your government VoIP encryption, your military radios, your military communications, your radar systems are all fucking Israeli. Address that. It's not the Vatican. Address that. No, because you got your little claws in the fucking Jesuit shit. You know what? I don't know the answer. I'm asking questions. Answer my fucking questions. Who has their fingers on the button? And ain't fucking Jesuits. But they're all proud fucking Jews, Israeli first as graduates of Israeli Unit 8200 and Telpiot. So why don't you ask that fucking question first before you go on about esoteric and the Vatican and 500-year-old theories and this? Just tell me who's running the critical infrastructure. I'm waiting. Tell me all the Jesuits. Oh, they're not. They're all proud Jews, Israeli firsters. Fancy that. Who runs all the fucking internet, all the databases, FBI databases, state police databases, Variant, Converse, Infosys, PTech, all Israeli companies? Tell me about who's running all the billing. Tell me who's got all their equipment. Tell me about the Drug Enforcement Agency saying Variant was backdooring them and then warning all the Israeli drug dealers. Tell me about that. Why don't we discuss that? Any Jesuits in there? Any Jesuits? No, there's no fucking Jesuits. All fucking Jews. But you don't want to say it. That's why I don't like about the Jesuit conspiracy. Because when I ask simple fucking questions, the Jesuits are suddenly silent. And they go back to their little, why is it in there? The Swiss army pants with their fancy pants who guard the Vatican are from Switzerland. Who do you think runs fucking Switzerland, dumbass? You ask them about the hoof feud and the court Jews of Europe and the history of the Spanish Portuguese Jews diamond trade, the court Jews who were lending money to the king, married and allowed into the nobility. Suddenly they're silent. The fucking Jesuit infatuated dick pullers suddenly got nothing to say. No arguments, or they'll get back and say, you're wrong. And then they wonder why I just delete them. Answer my fucking questions. I go, yeah, you got a point there. Maybe it's more complicated than that. So I actually seriously ask, all of these Jesuits surrounded me, and they're all friends with Netanyahu, and they're buying the Rothschild Bible. How fascinating. They also have done heaps of anti-corruption work. Justice Mazel was one of the best judges I had. How did I find out he was a Jesuit? 1 week before I get out of jail, in the West Australian paper owned by Kerry Stokes, Jesuit, who bought the Rothschild Bible, friend of Heinz Kissinger and Tony Abbott and Netanyahu, close friends, James Packer. That's the ones that said, you could have a career in politics, and I laughed. All Jesuits weren't killing me, wouldn't put guns to my head. They were trying to, come in, keep going. So please understand, it's complicated, isn't it? It's interesting. I'm asking a serious question, but stop giving me the bullshit about the colourful pants who guard the Swiss Guard. You don't think that could be a little decoy? Are they really Swiss Guard? Are they really big, strong Swiss? Are you sure? You're sure they're not Israeli dual nationals? Have you seen the Swiss bikers, the Hells Angels in Switzerland? They have a chapter in Switzerland, the Hells Angels. Have you seen them at the Wailing Wall? The head of the Swiss Hells Angels is at the Wailing Wall. Hello? Let's get that up. This is the point I try to make. You've got 1 or 2 facts. I've got 500 facts, and that's where you're going to lose. And I use simple common sense. Swiss Hells Angels. Where's it under motorcycle? Motorcycle. Gentlemen clubs, as Cade Griggs would say. Hells Angels. Why can't I find it? This is really annoying. Aha, here we go. Here is the head. You tell me. Have a look. What's he doing? Hells Angels Motorcycle Club Switzerland. And he's there. He's right there at the Wailing Wall. Come on. Is that a bit of information you don't like seeing? I'll go toe-to-toe with the Jesuit bullshit, but I'm asking a serious question. All these Jesuits came around me, and yet they're all friends with Netanyahu. They're all friends and with Heinz Kissinger, Rupert Murdoch. Wow. I'm trying to get a handle on it. Seriously. The anarchists in Spain acted as the fifth column. Yeah, the old syndicalist movement, all that going on, which is important. Learn about the Vegas looking down on the devices are ruining. Oh, no, I agree. Yeah, I don't feel good when I sit here. I don't feel good at all. I agree 100%. Lisa just, yeah, I get it. Yeah, I get it. She was into Whitney Webb first. Well, no, the average person didn't know any better. Whitney Webb was there. She was articulate. She was reading all her notes off the stuff that we gave her and then delivering. I mean, I still haven't done the video, but I will. I just haven't been up to it yet, but I will. She's easy to pull apart. I mean, she's the little rich kid, Richard Webb IV. He's a CIA case officer involved in drug money laundering in Sarasota, Florida. That's what he does. He's multi-Indian. She's a super rich kid. I reckon she's Jewish by their own standards. Little rich Jewish kid who's down there in Chile. What's down in Chile? Patagonia. Who's down in Patagonia? All Julian Assange friends. All those Israeli Russian hackers are all down there in Chile. That's why she's down there. Do you think when they recruit you into the KGB, GRU, SVU, SVR, do you think when they recruit you, normally they go through the Latino, the Cuban DGI, because that's the Viva la Revolution, you know? It's a hip guy. He's smoking a joint. Hey, bro, how you going, sister? Oh, you're such a good chick. Yeah. I'd like to know who her first Chilean husband was, wouldn't I? And then they told me that the other village idiot who married her and had a kid by her, that his family were multi-generational Greenpeace and anti-nuclear activists, communist, multi-generation. It's all making sense, isn't it? You got to know Anna Montez. She was recruited by a Latino spotter for Cuban DGI, Cuban intelligence, which is Russian intelligence. And she was recruited at 18 in university. Then she went to Spain, and she met a guy running from Argentina, running from Pinochet. And she was recruited back then. She was a civilian. She was never in the army. Then she got a job in the government doing FOI requests, FOIA requests, and that gave her a security clearance. Then she applied for a job as a civilian analyst at the Defense Intelligence Agency. Sounds awfully like little Whitney Webb to me. They recruit journalists. They plant them throughout the area. There's a big case against her as Russian GRU, an asset being handled by Russian GRU. Or she's US intelligence infiltrating. That too. The point is to understand the history of these things, particularly Anna Montez. When I look at Anna Montez, right, huge spy for 20 plus years, I see Anna Montez, I see Whitney Webb. Same bullshit, comrade, one world is free the world, la raza, fuck America. For sincere people, I don't blame her. Anna Montez never did it for the money. She never did it. She was disgusted with the behavior of the United States, and rightly so. But then so was Russia. Russia was in there doing all sorts of mischief, and so was fucking France, I might add. So was France, been there for decades and decades in Israel, Russia. Big time. Because of all the Jews that Queen Isabella expelled, and they're all through Mexico, Central and South America. Sicario is the Hebrew word for assassin. James Corbett's new video has a great idea for change. Donate to your favorite talking head. It's actually embarrassing. He can even say it. Look, they've got no shame because they're psychopaths, narcissists. I couldn't do it. I'd be embarrassed. I remember when someone asked her, Whitney, what should we do? And she said, refuse consent with a straight face. No. You're all going to die. Refuse consent. And we run to Odyssey and we all hide out over in Odyssey. No, she's much more than just an idiot. Much more than just an idiot. I was heavily coerced into my marriage when being forced to medically retire from the US Army, lost custody of my half-Japanese children. Yeah, you should speak to Mary Silva, 100%. Obviously, you have a mind of your own, Amy. That's probably your biggest problem. And if you're stubborn and that with a mind of your own, they hate you even more. Plus, you can just get someone who doesn't like you, as I've found. Big time. People work against me all the time. I have no idea. I don't even know what their problem is. I always had good nurse managers when I was a registered nurse. Now, I was pretty good shape back in my 20s, like really good shape. I was nightclub doorman. Women would just be throwing themselves, the hottest women at you all the time. I just wanted to go home to my girlfriend and go to bed. I was offered drugs all the time. I never took drugs till I was 27, dexamphetamine tablets like Adderall. The women, you want to talk about nurses, they would be arrested. I've had nurses just come up and say, you want to fuck? We can go out now, I'll give you a blowjob. I mean, you wouldn't believe it. I was just sitting there going, I'm at work. I got a moon Virgo, so work is work. And not that I'm, a man, some pretty hot nurses and doctors around there. And my nurse managers would say, Brendon, look, you're doing a great job. We need more men on the ward. And she said, these are all the complaints against you. And she laughed. Her name was, nurse manager was Guy. Oh, I've forgotten the name. Delilah Guy, G-U-I. She was Anglo-Indian lady. Great. I always had good nurse managers. And she ripped her and laughed. And she said, don't worry about any of them. And she said, well, you won't screw any of them, Brendon. I think that's your problem. And she said straight out, Brendon, you're up against estrogen. Women are bitches. She said, that's why we need more guys on the ward. And I was like, what's wrong with these women? Tell you now, man, I'll never work with women again. Never. I've worked in all men on mining. I'll work with men all day. I will not work with a bunch of women ever again. 50% I got along with, and they were grateful to have a male who was also big for this heavy lifting and stuff as well. And they said, oh, thank God, we've got some testosterone on the ward. And 50% just hated my guts, and I knew nothing. I knew nothing about it. But always the nurse managers laughed and said, Brendon, you're not fucking them. And I said, really? So men are the sexual deviants? Let me tell you, ladies, I know all about you. I did 3 years nursing as a student and 4.5 years on the wards. All right? All women talk about all day sex, size of dicks, and their sex life. 90%, 10% shopping. Men talk 60% sex, 30% cars, 10% buying something else. Women are complete mad on sex. Yeah, don't lie. Don't lie. I freaking know. I admit it's a slightly skewed sample, nurses' reputations, and it is. But women know exactly what they're doing. 15-year-old, 16-year-old girls know exactly what they are doing. The innocent sex. No. You talk about sex all freaking day. Stop it. Stalin made a Jewish oblast in Russia. They refused. Yeah, that's right. What do they call it again? I've forgotten. They didn't want to go there. They wanted to hang out in the cities and trade. They got a lot of goy to rip off. Steva Plokha wrote in Ynet News, which is brutally honest, a Jewish online journal, 2008, I remember it well. He basically said, if we continue to make ripping off the goy a national sport, we're going to get into the neck, basically. That's what he said. That's what he wrote. Brendon and Lee Priest, my favorite. Lee Priest is crazy. Crazy Lee Priest. What a physique, though. What a physique. Even his physique before he ever took steroids was amazing. Yeah, he had a big mouth. He was a good guy, but he's got a big mouth. Fuck. You don't know who Lee Priest is. He's a bit full on. But anyway, I hear, Brendon, I've been trying to figure out my purpose and all this hell so I've experienced. You've just highlighted it for me. Huge gratitude. All right, Amy. Yeah, I've known my stuff. I've got to try and get along, and I'm just so combative, and I have to say, no, you're fucking wrong, and you're full of shit, and you're a fucking hypocrite. I can't help myself. Believe me. But if I don't do it, who will? But there's got to be a better way. They taught us in nursing school, and the nursing degree was brilliant, to be an agent of change, that it takes time. And, as I get older and a bit wiser, I'm sure I still think the Mary Silver method, which is plotting and consistent application of pressure, which is how Jewish power got where it got. It wasn't magic. It was the consistent application of pressure over the last 500 years in particular. That's it. Nothing magical. Consistent application of pressure. I'm someone who runs at the door, goes to kick it in, and then exhausts myself at the door instead of just chipping away. But, everybody's playing their role, and it'll make a great movie. Hi, everyone. Shine the Laha Dawn. What do you think of Ibrahim Traore? I have no idea who that is. Santos is nuts. I don't know who that is. I was in Gates. Still had my mind, I think. I don't know what that is. Oh, stop flicking down. God's sake. Exactly, 100%. Me too, but that is not the case for everyone. Hi, Michael Sweeney, a self-proclaimed targeted individual savior, alleged that those upon whom the mind control did not work are targeted most. But you've got to understand why you're targeted. I know I was fucking targeted for a good reason, obviously, but you ask someone, so you're targeted. All right, they're a little bit off. Any reason why? I was like, dude, you're not targeted. You need to take some pills. So if you're going to say you're targeted, you'd have to give a good reason why, unless you're involved in a criminal group or you've upset, because that's what criminal gangs, the police use criminal gangs just to annoy people they don't like. You'd have to be able to articulate why, or else you're obviously suffering mental illness and paranoia. I'm sorry, but you have to give a good reason why. Is your ex-husband a cop? Yeah, they get all their crims to stalk and harass ex-wives, all sorts of stuff. So, okay. But a lot of it is just low-end shit for brains. And Kay Griggs was right. I mean, the SAS were in Perth, and I'd see them come up the river in their little SAS boat, counter-terrorism boat, and they'd pull in at the old police academy where state counter-terrorism is, and they'd come up and fucking harass. They'd shift furniture around. They were all through my friend's car. Big mistake. That guy's a very highly connected, a teacher who teaches other teachers. Amazing healer. And, our friends were like PhDs from Oxford in theology and history who are professors at Catholic universities. You're really fucked up big time. And they saw everything that unfolded, and all their friends are connected. They're all over the world. They speak 4 languages. And they look at the WA police now. They wouldn't piss on the WA police if they're on fire. That's the West Australian police. Biggest mistake they ever effing made. I had too many friends. They just thought I was some nutter. They didn't realize, my friends used to write speeches for politicians. My friends were doctors, lawyers, drug dealers, hookers, sex workers. I used to look after strippers and sex workers when I was doing security for stuff. I got friends all over. I got Aquarius rising. Rhett Butler's my favorite. as he said about the madam, the brothel keeper. She had more heart, more compassion in her than all the well-to-do Stepford wives snobs. Nice camera. I'm not sure what that means. Thank you for stating clearly what needs to be done. I pray to get through my cerebral revision fusion. Backs are fucked. Backs are fucked. As a former RN, I had a bad back for 3 weeks. I was going insane. I couldn't stand it. Backs, yeah. But also backs, anything to do with the back is about feeling unsupported. So I realize you're probably going into your surgery, and yes, it can help, but man, see a good kinesiologist. Try that first. I've seen miracles happen. Literal miracles. You'd be surprised. The body is the barometer of the soul. I've had some amazing experiences with the body. Swiss agent Scheinbaum, yeah, Swiss, France, Switzerland, probably the same thing. Sunshine Rainbows, there's good ones, front and bad ones, core, same as Freemason. Yeah, look, I knew good Freemasons. They're upset. If you look, it's the worst it is the heresy. Sorry, the best to me is it's a heresy. It's an over-intellectualized approach to God. But there's a lot of aspects that are missing in the Christian Bible. Number one, mufkut, monatomic gold, resonating the right left hemisphere so you become a living stone with the indwelling of the Holy Spirit. You attain that through repentant tears or the grace of the Holy Spirit, which happened to me when I was 22 years old. In 1992, I had an intense experience, the grace of the Holy Spirit. It was then I understand Christ. I understood what Christ meant when he said, peace I give to you, not as the world gives it. I was in my body. I could count my red blood cells. I could literally count my red blood cells. I felt myself in every cell of my body. I stretched to the furthest reaches of the universe, and I was God. I was God for 3 solid minutes in bliss. Brahma. I was everything it ever was. I felt myself stretch to the furthest reaches of the universe. Yes, the universe has an edge. Direct knowing, but I can't prove it. But that was the experience. 3 minutes. It lasted for a few hours, but intense for 3 minutes. And as I sat there, I went, what I can do with this? It was pow! And then it just went junk and it was gone. It's Parsifal when he tastes the fish, burns his fingers, because he doesn't know what to do with it. You can't have an experience like that and be normal. I nearly lost my mind. It was so beautiful. Thank God I had Bernard Tandy, regiment, British para. My life has revolved around the Second World War, Jews, and Israel/Palestine. My life has revolved around that theme, that whole thing. Synchronicity, before any of this stuff started. But yes, I could felt myself in every cell of my body. Your body, mind, it's not your head, your whole body. That's why body language works, is symbolic for stuff. Our whole bodies are expressing themselves all the time. And, I loved the nursing degree. I thought, my God, I bumbled into it. I liked human biology. I used to get A's in human biology. And I was fascinated by the human body. I would sit there as a kid looking at my fingers, trying to imagine the thought, catch the thought. Look at the robots. Nothing compares to that. Nothing. They can't make anything like that. Nothing. It's amazing, the human body. It's incredible. And yet, if we found a Swiss watch, a finely tuned Swiss watch, you'd never just go, oh, it spontaneously assembled itself over millions of years, would you? But the life force is incredible. God is incredible. God is great, to be sure. Do I know exactly what God is? I got a fair idea. As Jung would say, God out there, we can't know. It's infinite. It's unknowable. It's uncontainable. It never changes. God is infinite. However, the experience of the Godhead, the transformation, Father, Son, Holy Spirit, the indwelling, the feminine side of God, the wisdom. We are the feminine aspect down here. Wisdom, she sits by the gates. In the Old Testament, Tanakh, wisdom is constantly referred to, grace, as feminine in nature, in the she, her. Because that is the indwelling of the Holy Spirit. When God incarnates, it turns into feminine. Feeling, intuition, direct knowing. This is the grace and gifts of the Holy Spirit. Now, if we had a church or even a synagogue or a mosque, but let me talk as a Christian/Catholic, right? This is the business of the church. Oh, the New Age is taken over. Well, what relevance do you have, church? You've become a servant of the state. You keep people calm like sheep. Don't worry, your reward comes in heaven. There's big here in Mexico. Look, they're salts of the earth, a lot of the poor people. I love them. That's so nice. Buenos dias, buenas tardes, senor. It's so polite, family orientated. I'm romanticizing it a bit, but they throw the best freaking parties in Mexico. House parties. 8-year-olds are dancing with 80-year-olds. People from all awesome parties. They know how to sing and dance in Mexico. Put it that way. They really do. They love their music. But family's still so strong in Mexico, and that's what I felt. That's why I thought, man, I could live in Mexico. I could become a Mexican citizen. I'm pretty pissed to be going, but anyway, too much witchcraft and other crap going on. But the church has become a servant of the state, like psychology and psychotherapy. Ronnie Lang, James Hillman, Michael Ventura, whatever, 100 years of psychotherapy, and the world's getting worse. My favorite book, The Soul's Code, In Search of Character and Calling, James Hillman. How we look at it as victimhood, whereas I was being trained. I was probably being trained from childhood for this moment. You know, it's just another way of looking, instead of being a victim, that you were receiving your training. But you know, the churches need to involve psychotherapy counseling, of course. The priests need to be married, unless you're being a monastic. They need to be married, like in the Orthodox Church. The St. Augustinian order should be a monastic order only. The priests must be married. They have to be. That has to stop. That has to go back. And we need priests and nuns who are trained in psychotherapy counseling, astrology, dream work, Jung. They need to be trained in all the, the Winnicott, the Good Enough Mother, the Adlerian, Maslow's hierarchy, all that stuff. They need kinesiology, acupuncture, massage, pressure points, all of that stuff needs to be in the damn church. And you say so people can have an indwelling and a direct experience of the Godhead. That's what they're searching for, instead of all this spiritual hubris bullshit in what we call the New Age. The churches have failed miserably. I've come to free the slaves and to take away your fear of death, your fear of abandonment, your fear of being alone. And the only way to break through is to empty, because you've got to also consider past life experiences. 100%. I was in the German army in the Second World War. 100%. I have distinct memories. I'm telling you, I was there. And I was in the Hitler Youth, I'm sure of it. And I was all yes, and I got caught up in everything. I just saw the horrors of war. And by 1945, I was burnt out shell. I've got the whole book in my head. And it's helped me immeasurably understand some of my emotions. I believe I've had huge past life trauma. And then when I look at my chart, Moon conjunct Pluto in the 8th house in Virgo, so I feel everything in my body and my gut. And it's sextiling, Jupiter, Neptune, Mercury, the Sun in the 10th house. Sorry, Sun and Mercury in the 9th house. Neptune, Jupiter, and Venus are in the 10th house in Scorpio. And that is that connection where I can go, I know what's going on. Where I can wake up in March in La Paz and go, they're going to invade Mexico, 200 miles of border. Wait and see. Wait and see. Well, I can feel certain things are happening, and I could feel when people are focused on me. If a group of people get together and focus on me, I can feel it. People want a direct experience of the Godhead, and so far the churches have failed miserably. So people are going to the New Age stuff. They're going into the occult. They're going into this stuff. And if the Catholic Church wants to get relevant, then it's going to have to get into the point of healing and not just say, don't worry, be good. When you do that, make sure you stick it in the right hole with the right sex and be good, and you'll get your reward in heaven. Have a nice day. If that's all you got, Catholic Church, you wonder why you're empty. You got a lot of poor people, admittedly, but the more sophisticated, the more intellectuals are looking elsewhere because you don't have it, because you're just a servant of the state. And apparently someone said they've got a new hottest priests of the year, where there's like a calendar, like a fireman's calendar, but for priests. This is what the Catholic fucking Church came up with. You got to be fucking kidding me. Look, once I've saved the world on this issue, I've got to go rescue the Catholic Church. Who wants to come with me? It should take a weekend. But they got to start fucking waking up to the fact that people want a direct experience of the Godhead. They want paths in. But they're too busy just telling people to shut up and do as they're told, pay tax, and don't annoy rich people. My older children were recruited to Fordham. They did not go, thankfully. What's Fordham? That's the school in the US. Hey, Brendon, you see Microsoft blocked UN 8200 access from Azure Cloud back in September. Well, I think they blocked their access allegedly in Israel. See, here's the problem. All the staff are in Microsoft, right? In Seattle. That's the problem. And obviously not all of them are bad. Otherwise, those UN 8200 people wouldn't warn me about this all those years ago. And the Israeli press, again, is screaming about it. The American press ain't saying a word. The Israeli press is, though. My old friend always stated that I am targeted for my intelligence and bloodline. Look, that stuff's possible. Particularly in America, you Americans are hardcore into that stuff. But, yeah, that's possible. I get it. And was accepted to Fordham, also did not go. Oh, and I was accepted to Fordham, did not go. Look, I know America, as Americans have warned me, Brendon, you don't understand America. It's just full of secret societies and clubs and cults and witchcraft and demonology and the occult and just organized crime like you wouldn't believe. They're just criminals. Pelosi, all of them. Look at Trump is just in full view. Meme coins. Here's my meme coin. Send me all your drug money. You don't have meme coins for any other reason than to receive bribes. And he's just getting away with it totally, making as much money as he can. Beautiful, beautiful, what's that? Be human, be kind. Handle name. Bubba runs their country, yeah. Bikers are the muscle, yeah, a lot of ex-military in that as well. Hells Angels was feds. Yeah, look, all of organized crime, most of them were feds and a lot of them military, undercovers, all sorts. They moved the drugs. Nah, yes and no. Yes and no. Look, a lot of trucking companies, a lot of ex-military retired, as Kay Griggs said, a lot of trucking companies in it. And of course, you have what? You have, you know, Israeli aerospace industries converting aircraft. They also convert trucks and hidden compartments. Chabad bikers, yeah, I mean, the Hebrew Catholics, the Bairstow family, then the South God's Garbage in Albany. Famous club, they're all Jews. It's all right, actually pretty cool guys, you know, but all Jews, all quiet about it. A lot of them up in Kalgoorlie, which is a very famous place in Australia, gold mining, largest pit, open cut pit in the world. There are the Club Derros. There was only 40 or 50 of them. They all had Star of Davids under here. A friend of a friend was an associate and getting recruited. He was German, a bit of a Nazi. And he went on a trip with them to Melbourne, and they're sitting in a mansion in Melbourne, and in walks a QC to give some advice, and he's obviously an Orthodox Jew. And he went, huh? Then I told him about them with their Stars of David under their arms and that. He went, when you look at a lot of the bikies, organised crime, Chabad Lubavitch, Melbourne, gangsters, all Jewish, Israeli firsters, Russian Israeli. Whitney takes the information from others, but doesn't, no. I mean, imagine Gary Webb, who bled for his craft, bled for it. Imagine if Whitney Webb came along and started talking about the drug trade and never mentioned Iran-Contra, the Bush and the Clintons and Gary Webb. Could you imagine if she did that? What would happen to her? She would just be laughed at. So here's me. Some of the stuff, I don't know who's in her ear. She was laughing at me, making stuff up, saying, haha, as if I'd give you I never asked for an interview. I said, does she want to interview me? You know, the guy that started this all and bled for it and with broken bones and was talking about this when she was just a little girl, an inch in her daddy's pants. And she had no shame whatsoever, just took it all and didn't give a shit. And then ASIO associate, which is the CIA in Australia, John Wilson, whose brother is ASIO based in Japan, who was actually injured by bullet fragments when Nasser was assassinated in Egypt. He said, your damaged goods, Whitney's taken over. I'm paraphrasing. And I just went, that's when I was in Kuala Lumpur getting invited out with Opus Dei. So I know exactly what fucking Whitney Webb is. Never understood her appeal. I did it first. I was barracking for her. I defended her for 6 months. Everyone said she's lying. She's not putting this stuff up. She's a limited hangout. And I said, we might be getting shadow banned. She might not be seeing that. It was obvious she was seeing it because people said, I've been chatting to her for a year on email, sending information. I sent her all your stuff. I've never heard from her again. She's a fucking fraud. Then she did the best interview she ever did. She took all of the work of Diane and me with the US-Israel Energy Act, the BARD, the BIRD, the BSF, all that stuff, LACAM, all that stuff we did 2017, 2018. She took all that in 2020 and did that brilliant, it was a good interview, actually. She did a good job with good old True News and good old, what's his name? Rick Wiles. I was talking to Edward Saltz and the other guy. I was talking to him via email. And he told them not to talk to me anymore. They took all that stuff, ignored someone. Rick Wiles demanded $250,000 for a new studio. Next minute, he disappears that interview with Whitney Webb. There's an older one, which isn't bad, but it's not the patch on the other one, which was everything we talked about. That was completely disappeared. We've never found it again. He gets a brand new studio and he's running backwards and forwards to Davos in South Korea with a 5-man crew. Do you know how much that would have cost? And Edward Saltz is asking questions directly to the President of the United States. And I've got Fred Smith, my new best friend. Skull and bones. Okay? I know what Whitney Webb is. Exactly. And then I've got the Pentagon top legal advisor to General Milley. Sister in my bed. So I think we can all work it out now. Look, when I say my time is coming, you have to, people who bleed for the craft, people who bleed and have broken bones, it's not the same as sharing a few links. People who are literally a decade to 15 years ahead, everyone, that's not bad going. If we don't reward whistleblowers, then nobody's going to be a fucking whistleblower. They're just going to go, well, I saw what they did to O'Connell. Look, sometimes I wonder these things are handled quietly. Maybe I need to be quieter. Maybe it's right. But I don't believe that. And I prayed and God said, like fucking hell, you scream and you scream loud because there's all those analysts and those lower echelons who've been held back all those years. Again, Dave Fresca, 5. Look, 1, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 separate investigations. 5. Were investigating Muhammad Atta, Muslims learning to fly. Could have stopped it like that. Dave Frasca, one guy, Frasca. Dave Frasca, the head of the Muslim Fundamentalist Unit. He stopped every single investigation. So there's FBI people doing their jobs, getting fucked over by their supervisors. All of those people have got to explain the biggest espionage case in history. They've got to explain it. How are they going to explain it? So a $50 billion a year intelligence community. That's why I said to him, I ain't lying for you. I'm not lying for you, but give me $3.9 million and I'll fuck off and I'll do my permaculture farm and happily just forget about it because I had enough. No such luck. Won't even give me a Mavic 4 Pro Creator Pack drone. Won't even do that, assholes. I wanted it for Lee, by the way. I just wanted to play with it. You can't fly it around. There's helicopters flying over here. I can't fly anything around. I had to wake up my West Point classmates, my children, others, without causing them to tune out. Look, I got ears from Patrick Wood. I will work on it. Amy, look, you've got to pick your crowd. Pick political people and don't wait for feedback. You want to be praised and loved and adored. You have to accept. As an early adopter, you've got to accept. Just keep plugging away. Get on the record. Film if you can. Attend rallies. Sit quietly. Don't say anything at first. Form relationships. Get face-to-face with people. Lee's flyers are still very good, and you can use them with a QR code. They're still very good. You could use those. And you make it a national security issue, and you say, I love Israel, I adore Israel, Israel's wonderful. I mean, I'm a Zionist too. I believe Israel needs to be protected by a giant US Marine Corps base. So I'm a Zionist, 100%. I'm a United States Marine Corps Zionist. I want 20,000 Marines based right there in the Gaza Strip. I want a full apology to the Arab Muslim world and the Arab Christian world, the Arabs in general. I want massive compensation, and you go and strip all the assets out of the EFAs in the City of London and all the rest, strip all their fucking assets, and you pay for the massive rebuilding, all the monuments that got to be set up. There's got to be reconciliation. There's got to be rituals all set up for the mass slaughter that's gone on in the Middle East. I don't know how the Arabs even maintain their sanity. I truly don't. I remember asking Louis, just why do you cope with all this shit? He goes, I don't know, we just read poetry, just catch up with friends, eat, make sure we got food, and that's how we cope till he got out of Iraq, got to Australia. So for those of you, I guess it's probably time to pull the plug. I'll keep going. I don't think anything will change until Web3. Poly market is getting close. Jim Bell's about taking bets on funeral dates. I just hope the crackdown on the internet keeps going. I hope we have to have licenses and no one's allowed online. Beautiful. It'll force people to get offline, and I don't want to do that. I think a lot of it's all talk. They want data, so they've got to keep us online. I wish they'd push everyone offline. Have you asked Johnny Carucci? Yeah, he asked to catch up, and I said, look, dude, no, we're not compatible. But look, you know, it would have been nice, but you know, we're just not compatible. We're both pig-headed. It wasn't going to work. But you know, if that guy got the message, I'm not going to argue with someone over the Jesuits when they're so obviously wrong. I'm just not going to bother. But he's sincere. He's sincere. Answer Truth's going to run for president. What's his name? He was a little porn star in Los Angeles. All coke to the eyeballs, running around, kill the Jews. The online crowd has become very fickle. Everything is volatile. Yeah, because of money. There's money now, and a lot of them are handled. A lot of them are drug dealers, criminal informants. They work for Lockheed Fusion Centers. They're little boys and little girls. See, they all think I work for another Lockheed Fusion Center or something. Oh, you're just jealous. Who's your supervisor? We want to talk to them and tell them to shut up and leave Whitney alone. You see what I mean? They can't believe I'm just operating on my own. They can't believe it. They all think I'm ex-special forces, some fantasy. It's like a joke. Look, I need to stop now, and that's it. I'm sorry. Thank you, Brendon. I am laughing. I hope so. Hi, Real Frank Stone, official. Oh, yes, they want data big time. Look, that's why they want data. That's why this stuff about AI going away is bullshit. AI ain't ever going away. It's working beautifully. They want our input. They need our input, but they need to see how we interact with a large language model. You've seen how good it's got in this time frame. Give it another 5 years. This is just the beginning. Now they've got to implement the high-speed 5G frequency, 28 gigahertz and above, which is a blessing because I don't want any of that low-frequency shit. Give me the high-frequency stuff any day of the week. It doesn't penetrate a piece of paper. Thank you. Don't believe that 5G bullshit. The sub-6 gigahertz 5G makes me want to vomit instantly. Your 2.1 gigahertz 4G and your 2.4 gigahertz home wireless is doing more damage. That stuff is proven affects mood, blood pressure, memory formation, but you're not stopping using your phone, so let's stop that right now. So they want that 28 gigahertz, and they want to see where every object is at all times. Seriously, because the high frequency 5G is like a millimeter wave radar. It can track people. It's like a camera. Seriously. And they've got it could be very interesting, but it's also obviously highly dangerous, isn't it? It's obviously highly dangerous. But it's going to work. It's like the atom bomb. If you said, we got a 20 kilo plug of uranium-235 or 238 or plutonium, and it's going to make a 20,000 ton explosion, you would go, what? That sounds mad. Telling you now, AI could be such a blessing. But to get it to work, you know, the surveillance stuff it's secondary to all the surveillance. It's not terrorism or us. It's for the AI. They need to mimic the universe. Do you know they've got an accurate model of the Milky Way galaxy now? They've mapped every single star in the Milky Way galaxy. They've literally modeled it. They want to do that with the planet. They want the location of everyone and every object at all times. Every object in your house. They want all the data from sunspot activity to the lengths of blades, the grass growth pattern in this section of the world, how many wildebeest in Africa. They want to put all of that data into a huge large language model. When you combine that with CERN particle accelerator stuff and a quantum computer combined with normal computing, then they can simulate the universe. That's what they want to do. Then you can start building highly complex models. And you can make 20 years of research down into 1 year because you don't have to build out the infrastructure. You can simulate it all. That's what they're doing. That could be a fucking blessing. That could be some high-tech stuff you wouldn't believe. How about artificial gravity? Oh, that'd be ridiculous. That sounds crazy. Well, then I'll say it again. 1903, the Wright brothers flew their rickety little plane. 60 years later, the all-titanium turbo ramjet SR-71 Habu Blackbird flew. 60 years. If you just said, we'll have a Mach 3 all-titanium 80,000 foot Mach 3.2 cruise to the Wright brothers in 1903, they would have said, what? They wouldn't have even been able to understand it. So where do you think we'll be in 50 years with AI? Could be a fascinating time. It's also an extremely dangerous time, without question. And the only way we can mitigate that is for everyone to be involved in politics. We need to pay people to be involved in politics. We need a new society and popular culture that encourages people to be involved in politics, that gives them the time to become involved in politics, where one income earner can afford a fucking house. You have the right to own a house also, and a right to settle into a community and know your fucking neighbour. We need all new popular culture. We need rituals for young men. We've got to take young men at 18 and throw them out of aeroplanes at 10,000 feet as a ritual. Women generally get their rituals from childbirth, which can be a very dangerous and obviously extremely painful thing. That's a woman's initiation. Men need initiation. We need a whole new rituals, popular culture, everything. Well, we need to have that discussion, but right now, what are our discussions about? Well, maybe this is just the beginning, but I will tell you this and I will end this now. They're always going to tell you that the end comes tomorrow, whether it's the alien space monkeys or it's the new object, the comet with the spacecraft that's coming, or the end is tomorrow. They want to keep you in a state of anxiety so you never plan ahead. We have people contact me, their kids are graduating naval academies, they're graduating West Point, they're graduating into policing, friends, family, and associates, and they're teaching them this stuff. They penetrated us, now we penetrate them. Take back the country. The only place with the Constitution worth dying for, the big dick, the big divinely inspired Constitution, is the United States. How you free it? I don't know, because Americans have warned me, Brendon, you don't know how dirty it is. It's really, really bad. The place is falling apart. I get it. Well, you can't head a little further out west. There's nowhere else to go. So the first way to start cleaning something up is look in the mirror and start getting involved in local politics. All right, that's enough. I've got to go. I'm a Freemason and a Jesuit. We don't run shit. Really, Jesuit Freemason, like a Catholic Mason. Probably not your lodge, no. Probably not your lodge. But if you're interesting, you'll be seen. Talent spotters in the lodge will find you, and if you're useful for whatever version, particularly if you've got money or contacts or influence, you'll be pushed forward. I remember a guy had his own, you know how he had all the contracts with McDonald's and places to get the fish and chip oil, and he would turn the oil into diesel. And he was having a successful little business with that. Well, the local Mason said, look, come down, join with us, and we'll grow your business and we'll look after you, put your tithing in and buy. And he said, no, I don't want to, I'm happy by myself. Well, 6 months later, the Masons shipped in there. They got all the contracts and put him out of business. That's what I don't like about Masons, Freemasonic organization, the secret societies. I don't like it. Could it be a good thing? It's like a cannula into a vein, into the body politic. You can heal someone very quickly with an IV cannula. Put the right drugs, sedatives, you can put in antibiotics, and you can heal someone. But you can also kill someone instantly. This is secret societies have to go. You should have to designate if you belong to any form of secret handshake, secret deal, lodge, anything. And if you don't declare it, you're going to look at 20 years jail. There's how we can start. Okie dokie. Illuminized masonry is not a bad idea. Freemasonry at its core is just an overly intellectualized approach to God, but it was also using drugs. Well, not technically drugs, mufkut, monatomic gold in the past, but also now you see, I guarantee you that good old Joe Rogan is a member of a lodge with Ari Emanuel, and that's why they do a lot of drugs, magic mushrooms, LSD, to attain the Godhead, the New Age stuff. All that in the lodge. I'd call that more illuminized masonry. Pure masonry is sacred mathematics. That's why it's its time now. AI is sacred mathematics. Everything is a number. Watch the great movie Pi, Aaron Aronoff. It's all in black and white. Great movie. Great movie. Why don't we end it with we'll quickly get that up. Do I have it? I can't be bothered. Look it up, Pi, P-I, not the movie with the lions and tigers in the boat. Pi, Aaron Aronoff, black and white. It was the forerunner to the Matrix. Okay, ladies and gents, how you doing? Thanks for the stream. Saturn returns. Yeah, Saturn returns. Have a good one. Predictions for 2026. What about Japan, China, and Taiwan? What's Japan and China? It's all bullshit. It's all a big show. It's local populations. They're keeping local populations under control, justifying surveillance, justifying military-industrial contractor spending, by the taxpayer funding of all this high-tech surveillance technology and chip production. They then create the tools to F us all. Now, might Taiwan go? There will definitely be a blockade. It'll be arranged. It'll all be arranged. Everyone's terrified of the United States. Everybody is terrified of the United States. They all quiver in fucking fear when the Pentagon comes calling. Like Iran, oh, Mr. President, please, you've killed Soleimani. We have to please our people. We're going to fire some missiles at a US base, but they'll all fall outside. You heard it from Trump himself, all right? They're terrified. Look at that, Hezbollah. Took them out like that, Hamas. Who stands against the beast? China's a joke. Russia's a joke. Everywhere you look under US tech, German tech, French tech, South Korean tech, Japanese tech, everywhere you look in a piece of Chinese equipment. And now the Russians can't build their tanks. They're more modern ones. They can't because they can't get the chips. They can't get the thermal images, can't do the gyrostabilized gun sights because they've been cut off. So they're ending the war now. It's a managed war. Will they manage a war in Taiwan? Yes, there'll at least be a blockade. At least be a blockade. Because America wants all the top engineers out of Taiwan Semiconductor and they want them in the United States. And they might do a deal with Xi that they'll let him have Taiwan or something like that. Maybe. There'll be no war. It'll be a very short war. It'll be a million-man swim. Let me tell you, if you know anything about logistics, you are not sending 200,000, 300,000 troops across 100 miles of open ocean. It's not happening, ever. It's bullshit. They would have to sneak them in, plant them over decades. It's not happening, all right? It's just not happening. It's bullshit. People in the military know this. It's not happening. But there could be an arrangement because the US wants their engineers. Friends up there in the Netherlands says that because everyone knows ASML people there that they're expediting US visas for their top engineers. So watch IMEC and ASML. They'll never disappear from there, but they'll get their best people to go to the US. It makes sense. It's a national security issue. So I'd ask you, what the hell was that doing over there in the late 80s and 90s anyway? That's another gift of Kissinger and Associates, etc. Imagine you hear them talk. Chips are national security. Chips are national security. Okay, then why the F and hell did you put all this stuff in Taiwan and Europe? Because Kissinger multipolar world order. They were going to roll it over. Withdraw the US out and it would have its little sphere of influence and they would hand Taiwan to China. And voila. And then they've got all their high-end stuff over there in the Netherlands and Belgium. And the US would continue to handle security as each mob would start to handle their own security section of the world. And that's why it's very dangerous with this new tripolar world order. Because the US is demanding that France and Italy and all the European countries start building their own aircraft carriers, looking after their own place. Well, if that happens, then the US will have no power and influence. So that's a bit of a worry. What needs to happen is the US has to bring all the tech back home and dispense it to those who get the same constitution, freedom of information, transparency in government, and of course get control of the central banking cartel and make sure the Bank of International Settlements is moved to the United States, even though the United States already controls a lot of the SWIFT transfers and all the rest. It just needs to be done openly. Just do it openly now. And no one's going to complain about a robust middle class being built. No one's going to complain about that. And we need to talk about demographics. We need to talk about how are we going to move forward. We can't just keep breeding and keep having a large consumer base underneath. It's not going to last forever. How is robotics going to affect things? We need to have these discussions. But now we talk about, I don't know, Miley Cyrus or whatever bullshit of the day. Anyway, we'll talk soon. Have a good one. It was fun. I always enjoy these streams, and they generally leave me alone these days. So God bless you all, and make sure you heal your gut. Talk again soon.